They say looks can be deceiving. At first glance, I thought you were not much to look at. All icing, no cake, all steam, not much brew. But the night air sings of fulfilling ancient dreams. The moon whispers of tenderness for the smallest of them, for the unheard, the unseen. And as the sun breaks through our heroes' memories, your blinding smile hits my heart, like the warrior's blade, like 𝗍𝗶𝗀𝗃𝗆's spear. But the far seas beckon you. The memories on these walls try to soothe the pain of parting. I seek for your warmth, but only these sheets comfort me. My tears are salt water flowing to bridge the seas and islands that divide us. The stars listen to my sighs as I look for you in the skies. And now you're here. Our love blazes like the fire of our heroes' revolution. Our hearts entwined is such sweet victory, incomparable, like the journey of our people, like the richness of our culture.
Mga saata bituon sa langit, mikislap mitanag sa kangit-ngit, katamis taliwala sa kapait, mitunaw sa tik-ang nga kasing-kasing, nanumpada kung kuyog tang tuhan, gugmang gamhanan makahimo sa tanan, misata kung kitang duha kauban, malatas na to ang layong kadagatan, mapatag ang habog na kabukiran, mausabang lang sa kalibutan, hangtod kanu sa matahong, kining akong dughan. Ang akong kamot imong gihawiran, dungan na tong bag-o ng kalibutan, punon sa kahoy ang napuunasan, pabulakon ang nalayang tanaman, misatan kung kitang duha kauban, malatas na to ang layong kadagatan, Mapatag ang hapong nakabukiran, mausapang naw sa kalibutan, hangtod kanu sa matahong kining akong dughan. Mibanos ang katugnaw di maatos, at lamisalop sa imong paglakaw. Magulat ba ang tod sa hangtod, sa kahangtunan? Misata kung kitang duha kauban, malatas na to ang layon karagatan. Mapatag ang hapog nga kabukiran, mausapang naw sa kalibutan, hangtod kanu sa matahong kining akong dughan.
Malipayong adlaw sa mga kasing-kasing. Happy Hearts Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. PAMGRAS, the Cebu Heritage Hotel, in partnership with the Trust the Abril Foundation Incorporated, the University of San Carlos Department of Anthropology, Sociology, and History, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, the Diyandi Heritage Center, SOAN2020, and the Bisdak Pride present to you this afternoon a very exciting, stimulating Valentine Day event, IOT o Relihiyon, the physical intimacies and religion from the ancient Visayas, from the ancient to modern Visayas. Maayong hapon sa tanan, so malipayon ba ang atong adlaw karon? Nagpula-pula? Wala pa? Or firing squad ta? So, kind of, it's so funny because yesterday when they were setting up the tables, all the tables were in black. So sabi niya, is there a meaning to the black? So they put the red cloth on top of the black. So is it so meaningful? So daghang salamat to our online audience and to our on-site audience, and some of our on-site audience are still on their way. So this is a very exciting topic. So we remember that in 2020, when we had a partnership with Hambien, Hamiling Binilin, it is a heritage group also in Cebu. Um, our resource person during that time, Buboy Costas, was a formerly provincial tourism officer of Cebu. Also was the resource person in the topic, uh, it was gugmatic, gugmang romantic, gugmang atik. It was the sex lives of pre-colonial Cebuanos from its pain, perversion, and pleasure. That was the title of his talk. Pain, perversion, and pleasure. The sex lives of the pre-colonial Cebuanos from the lens of the Europeans. So that was our topic in 2020, and that was before the pandemic. And on February 2021, our topic also became, so because we had one of our resource persons today was also one of our resource persons at that time. It was the power of women in bed and politics 500 years ago. And the title was IOT, because the old word, according to our resource person who studied the dictionary of Father Mateo Sanchez, that the old word for sex is in the 1711 dictionary of Father Mateo Sanchez, a Jesuit priest, said "iot" was the old word for sex. So that was why. So it caused a stir actually in 2021. Last year also, because we had also a resource person when we from the Silliman University, Dr. 𝗟𝗲𝗃𝗆𝗆, who mentioned to us when he became our resource person, when we traced the revolts in the Visayas, he mentioned that one of the reasons for the revolt was the prohibition of the practices, especially the sex practices of our ancestors. So that was why they launched revolts. And last year, on February 14, last year, our topic was iyot o gubat. And this time, at that time, when I was listening to the discussion, we had an LGBT also, an advocate for the LGBTQIA+, who was a resource person last year. So there was much discussion about the role of the church in the prohibition of the sex practices. So of now the new religion in the 16th century. That was why this time we especially have this discussion, and it's so coincidental that today is also Ash Wednesday, the start of the Lenten season. So we are also celebrating the start of the Lenten season, and Lent is our preparation for or the Catholic, the Roman Catholic Church, the Christians' preparation for the resurrection of Jesus, who lived and died to save the world, and of course for the great teaching of the Christian great teaching, which is to love God above all things, and of course, to love your neighbor as yourself. And this is what we do during Lent. And not just during Lent, but every day to practice to practice love and acts of charity to our neighbor. We don't do this during Lent. We don't do this just during Lent, but every day, loving our neighbor as ourselves, because it is our expression of loving God. If we don't love our neighbor, if it means we don't love God. We can say we love God, but then if we don't show it as we express it in our love for others through acts of justice and acts of charity, so it's meaningless to say that we love God. So it's a day of love today. So we are celebrating Ash Wednesday. We also celebrate this month, the National Arts Month. So But before that, I would like to show. May we show the poster, because I would like to show you that our poster was our models in that photo, in that image is the are our 𝗂𝗶𝗃𝗍𝗃 servers, and they are dressed as ancient Cebuanos with tattoos. And also they were having a ring. So we would be discussing about the ring. That is not 299 pesos ring. Mas-show na to atong iyot o Relihiyon nga kuan. And I also thank, actually, in that photo we have uh, our props, like a rose. So this is thank you to the Visayan culture admin from 𝗏𝗃𝗃 Indigenous Filipino Society from Canada, who gave me this cedar rose. And this cedar rose is a sacred, the cedar wood is a sacred tree to the indigenous peoples in Canada. So this, you would see that that cedar rose in that photo. And of course, there is a pilok sa kanding at the background, and the tattoos of our warrior, and also of our, and there are flowers, because the ancient Cebuanos always adorn themselves with flowers. They feel very beautiful when they have flowers on their hair. And even the men that had long hair. So, and then some would wear also flowers. So we are celebrating this month also the National Arts Month. So we at Palmgrass we celebrate the arts every day, and we portray and we retrace our roots through the different art forms. We have our visual arts, we have sculpture, the wood sculpture of our heroes. We have digital arts in the rooms that portray our way of life. There is stencil art of the hallways of the room, the floors at Palmgrass, the Cebu Heritage Hotel. We have the songs, videos about our history, about love, war, and history. And of course, we celebrate the Valentine's Day today. We also celebrate the National Heart Month. Actually, the Philippines declared this as really the government has declared February as the National Heart Month. National Heart Month. So, so we have the National Heart Month, which is to take care of our hearts. Our really the literal heart. So we exercise, we eat nutritious, we have a nutritious diet. Of course, today it's fasting and abstinence. We don't eat meat today. So we take care of our heart. So we are reminded to take care of our literal, our heart organ today. And this month also we are celebrating the 8th year of our library restaurant, our restaurant named after a character in folklore, Lumaya. So we celebrate the 8th year of the Kapihan in Lumaya because it was launched in 2016, which is a year before the grand opening of Palmgrass, the Cebu Heritage Hotel, because it is just at the ground floor. So our before the grand opening of Palmgrass, the restaurant already had, during the soft opening of Palmgrass, our restaurant already has already opened ahead. So daghang salamat to Daniel Nino Paclihan from the University of San Carlos for joining us. Lou Anthony from UP Cebu. Hannah Binetes also from UP Cebu. Alex Figueroa from Cebu. Marivic Almo, also from Taguig City and Pateros. Happy Hearts Day. Ferdy Aparticio, the supervisor of the Araling Panlipunan of the DepEd Taguig City and Pateros. We have Lanelin from SDO Taguig. And Sobi Wing says from the Canada, from 𝗏𝗃𝗃, a Visayan culture page, cedar is the tree of life. Tree of life. And Donna Torion from Tipas National High School. Ellen from the flag tour guides. So they are on a tour. I'm still watching. up here sa Beco since we are on tour with the Kalinog Campus Iloilo, and Margie is from Taguig City, and daghang salamat for joining us. So, we would also like to recognize our partners such as the Abril Foundation Incorporated, the University of San Carlos Department of Anthropology, Sociology, and History, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, of which PAMGRAS, the Cebu Heritage Hotels Galleria Independencia is a member, and SOAN2020, the Bisdak Pride Incorporated, and also the Diyandi Heritage Center. So thank you very much to our on-site participants who registered. They are not yet here, and some are not yet here from the CTU main campus. Startup, so someone said from a startup organization, someone from Cebu Normal University, University of San Carlos, UP Cebu, University of San Carlos, CAS alumni, kasama, from the business, from 𝗟𝗲𝘃𝗆, Bisdak Pride, and from Philippine Fiber Regional Office. So the regional director is not yet here. He said he is coming because he wants also to meet personally one of our resource persons, Dr. Burinaga. And so our online participants, we have more online participants also, and they are already tuning in right now. So we have from the DepEd Schools Division of Catbalogan City. We have a seminarian watching us this afternoon. So we have also from the Divisoria National High School. We have from Silliman University, from Samar Colleges Incorporated. We have also our online participant from the Cebu Normal University, from the UP Cebu. We also have from Firefly Brigade Incorporated. Saan yung Firefly Brigade? Saan? Munang suga. or lahi sad. So we have from LHC Group Incorporated, there is a personal researcher joining us, someone from the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. We have also someone from the Leyte Normal University. We also have a participant from the Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan. Daghang salamat for joining us. From Schools Division of Taguig City and Pateros, we have a participant from the Biliran Province State University. Daghang salamat to part ni sa Eastern Visayas. Yes, and of course, one of our resource persons is from Biliran, right? And also we have a participant from the University of St. LaSalle, Bacolod. We have from Bare Hands, Philippines, DepEd Negros Oriental. So this is, we have audience right now from all over the Philippines and also from other parts of the world. We have from Cagdarao Elementary School, Mary Health of Christians School, Cebu. So we have Catholic schools also joining us. MSU, Iligan Institute of Technology, Iligan Institute of Technology, St. Paul College, Pasig, University of Negros Oriental, Recoletos. Daghang salamat. Thank you very much to our on-site audience, the Regional Director of the Philippine Fiber Development Authority. Daghang salamat for joining us on-site on this Valentine's Day. And also we have a participant from the Knights of Columbus, Visayas. So thank you very much to our the church people from the Knights of Columbus. So this is a very exciting topic, and so we also welcome our participants from the UP Cebu Center for Environmental Informatics. So these are researchers in UP Cebu. We have a participant also from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. From Bisdak Pride Incorporated, we have from Banaag, Love Crafts, and we have also from Eastern Visayas State University and from the TPAS National High School of Taguig City and Pateros. So please, for those online, so we may recognize you write the hashtag #IOT og Relihiyon or hashtag Valentine's Day or any hashtag that you want. So we have also Carl from UP Cebu, Alf Asa from the Plug Tour Guides is watching. We have Lenny from UP Cebu, Charles Ray Garcia from UP Cebu. So daghang salamat everyone. So Virginia from EVSU. So we have Raul says, it seems that some Catholics in Cebu are moderate in terms of sexuality. But anyway, watching now from BLP Commercial, daghang salamat, Raul. So Raul is also a history graduate from the University of San Carlos. And we have Lenny from, I have read that already. So thank you very much, everyone, for giving your comments. And we would like you to know that we would be entertaining your questions as we go along. So we would be reading your questions and your comments while our resource persons are answering also questions from me. That these are prepared questions and your questions will also be read. So please type your questions, and we also have a trivia quiz with exciting prizes at the last part of the conversations. We will also have. We would like you to know that we have upcoming events. Tonight we will have the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 Valentine event. So 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏, of course, as everyone knows, is the what is 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏? It is the Bisaya word. It is the Cebuano word for our hearts. So there is a harana at 7 p.m. at 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏. There is also the harana and games at the Hardin Dagami at 8:30 at night. So if you can jump, you can sing your heart out, and you get a chance to play at the ruleta sa kasing-kasing and win exciting prizes. So no one would lose in the ruleta sa kasing-kasing at Palmgrass del Cebu Heritage Hotel tonight. And you find the other half of your heart. So there is a game that when you come, you get a half of a heart, and if you find the other half of your heart, you will get your match, and you get a chance to win the romantic dinner for two if you with your other half of your heart. So it's it's a free it's a free dinner for two for the ones who would find the other half of their hearts. So, and then of course there is also this very fun game, which is describe your ex in one word. Sa mga bitter ni, describe your ex in one word. The one with the most applause, the wittiest, and the most applause description of the ex also wins. Unsay madaog ani? Madayon ang tilaw-tilaw sa kuan sa Tuslubua. Madayon. So there is also the Hardin Dagami is launching its tilaw-tilaw sa Tuslubua. There is the classic Tuslubua and the the healthy Tuslubua and the seafood Tuslubua. So it is tonight. So unsa pay lain ani? And the first 14 guests tonight at Hardin Dagami ni or Lumaya gets ansa to? Free lumay. So, lumay, love cocktail for this month. Our love cocktail, lumay, it's named after this drink, lumay. According to folklore, is something that would make you fall in love with someone who wants you to fall in love with you, would fall in love with malumay ni mo siya. So, kinahanglan pa ba ang lumay? Di na kinahanglan, no? Basta daghang kagugma. Og labi na og kuan, daghang kag acts of love, di na kinahanglan. Acts of charity and justice, di na kinahanglan mo lumay. Bitaw. Wa bitaw ta kabalo. Actually, we have these tamis nga gugma treats, cupcakes. You can have this. We have this in a box and have this as a gift for your. Every bite is a love letter. This is the caption. So, kasing-kasing cake, which is just 398 pesos. And also, asa pa? Pas. And then we have heart cookies, love tarts, and we have usa ka dosina nga gugma, tablia, truffle balls, and of course, we have dumay right now at Hardin Dagami, made of bahalina and other yummy ingredients. And there is harana tonight, and we have romantic dinner that you will have a free wine and also rose during the dinner. You can have it in the room or in the at Hardin Dagami or at Kapihan ni Lumayo. Daghana kay kog plugging, no? So, watching from Vince is watching from UP Cebu. Kent also watching from hashtag IOT. Luis is watching from Pateros National High School. So, this we would like you to know also that on February 28th, during the anniversary of Pamgras, the Cebu Heritage Hotel, we would be discussing food for the gods or pagkaong halad sa mga diwata, the food rituals in the ancient to modern Visayas. And also, we also have on March 1, this is a special talk or coffee talk or a special conversations with a scholar, a historian from the University of Manchester, specially recommended to us by also historian Dr. George Emmanuel Borinaga of the University of San Carlos, because he met him in the United Kingdom. And we will be discussing the Visayan section of the 𝗏𝗃 Codex. So this is the 𝗏𝗃 Codex. Pwede ma-show ko? So this is the 𝗏𝗃 Codex, and this is a reference material also. This is a reference material for our discussion today. And also, the Visayan part, the Visayan section of this very important book on our history would be discussed on March 1 with Dr. 𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗆. It's very hard to pronounce the name. So, and this would be in partnership with the Central Visayas Association of Museums. So now, we would also be featuring this afternoon, we would be featuring our exhibit. Pwede ma-show lang sa ang exhibit sa layo. So we would have our exhibit of the pre-colonial sex gadgets. Layo lang, layo nga view sa exhibit. Yes. So, isa ka lang. So we have our exhibit, also posters about our pre-colonial practices. Putol. So our pre-colonial practices. So marag isa ka rin na siya ang stand. Yes. So we have here. So for those on site, you can watch this. Actually, our posters that tell us about our pre-colonial sex practices, and also we also have replicas of the pre-colonial, the ancient sex gadgets. So we will also have a trivia quiz with exciting prizes. So please take note of our discussion. So you would be able to win. And also, we would have our reactors for our reactors. So we show first online our reactor from the Bisdak Pride. He is the gender specialist of the Bisdak Pride, and he is John Carl Bourbon. Is he already around? So John, yeah, so that's John. Daghang salamat for joining us. So our on-site reactor is nakoy audio. Okay ra ko audio. Our on-site reactor is a student from the University of the Philippines, Cebu. So we have 𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗆. Yes, daghang salamat, 𝗍𝗶𝗃, for joining us on site. So daghang salamat. So now we would like to introduce our panelists, our resource person. So we remind you once again to give your questions as we go along, and we also invite you to give your comments at the comment section of this Facebook Live event. We also invite you to, for those on site, you can have your questions at the Facebook Live event comment section, or you may give your questions and comments during our open forum. So we have also Gail Alcantara watching from UP Cebu. Chari Momo is saying Happy Valentine's Day. Dodds Milan, also a tour guide, is saying good afternoon. And Mark from 𝗟𝗃𝗃𝗆𝗄𝗃, Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Adrian is watching from UP Cebu. Kent is watching from UP Cebu, and also Vince Quinianola. And also, yes, we have so many students from UP Cebu watching right now online. And also, we also thank Regina Yoma of the Central Visayas Association of Museums and the USC Museum for watching this event, for joining us in this event right now. So, muna, excited na mo? Nga magkuhan na ta, magsugod na gyud ta. So, one of our resource persons is a former professor of the University of the Philippines, Manila, but he is based in Tacloban. And he is also the author of this book. So, this is Surat Bisaya, Deciphering Ancient Visayan Language. And this book is available at our 𝗏𝗃𝗃 the Cebu Heritage Hotel. He is also the author of this book, the 𝗟𝗏𝗃𝗆 Diary of the World War II, 1941 to 1945, hidden in Leyte. So these are the books by our resource person, and he has been in our events many times in different topics. So regarding the Eastern Visayas history during the American period, he was also our resource person in the Precolonial, sex practices of the ancient Visayans. So we would like to. He is a resource person also a resource person of the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. He has so many affiliations with history groups and history organizations in the Philippines. And please help me welcome Dr. On site. We are so happy that he is with us on site. We have Dr. Rolando Barinaga. Microphone. Microphone. Nasa mic. Please greet.
Maayong hapon ka natong tanan.
So, maayong hapon, Dr. Rolly. So, he has been our resource person in many events, but this is the first time that he is with us on site, in person. And if you have his book, you may have him sign your copy of his book. And it's also for sale. So his books, some of his books are available here at 𝗏𝗃𝗃 the Cebu Heritage Hotel. So daghang salamat, Dr. Rolly. So our next resource person he is with us for the first time, and we're so happy that he accepted our invitation for this very exciting and controversial topic. No one would want to talk about this actually. So no one would want. And we are so happy that our resource person is the bravest soul, the bravest soul of this Lenten season to have to be interested and to give us the pleasure of sharing his knowledge about this very important topic. So we have with us he has his doctorate in applied theology. He is a theologian, and he's a former University of San Carlos professor. He is recommended to me by my friend Bishop. He's highly recommended to be the resource person this afternoon. Daghang salamat for joining us on site. So we introduce to you Dr. Levi Lanaria.
Inyong tanan, og Happy Valentine's and Happy Ash Wednesday too. Ganiha from the church with my wife, where we attended the traditional Ash Wednesday celebration. Katong mga tao nga among imit ba, ang ilang greeting, Happy Valentine's. Wala gyud Happy Ash Wednesday. So, anyway, I was looking for something that would somehow kind of give commonality, to both celebrations. And then earlier, when I opened my laptop and my Facebook, somebody sent me this image, Happy Valentine. The letters L, E, and T are capitalized. So more than connection sa
There is
Valentine.
Lent in Valentine's. You cannot have Valentine's without Lent in it. The word Valentine's has Lent in it.
Oo. Oh, by the way, ang Lent is a time of joy actually, ha? It is not a time of mourning. So I guess ang Valentine's celebration
Mao
is
nang
also a time
naka-purple
of
na
joy.
naka-lavender na ko karon kay
Oh.
Lenten season.
So,
So
thank
pagkaman
you.
kay kanang usa to, there are actually meanings in color. So daghang salamat Dr. Levy.
Daghang salamat
Sa
sad. My pleasure.
sa we have also from CPSTS Taguig City, Ranay Lenny Mulena. Daghang salamat for joining us. So, Ferdy Pagao, a partition, the supervisor of DepEd Taguig City and Patera says he mine one surat binisaya. So murag live selling sa daini. So daghang salamat Ferdy for availing of the surat binisaya. Edgar says good luck Dr. Levy. So this is your friend Edgar. And Joel Gahudo says good afternoon. So daghang salamat everyone. So now we have this first question regarding our history, like our practices in sex and religion. So this is first for our theologian. So we would like to know what happened during the Spanish occupation during Spanish colonization in 16th century. What were the important teachings? So we were colonized in 1565. The Spaniards came here 1521, but Lapu-Lapu and his men, the Cebuanos, drove the Spaniards out of Cebu. They came back 44 years after in 1565. So now the Spanish colonization happened, and we would like to know what was the teaching of the religion that the Spaniards brought to the Philippines. So may we have Dr. Levy, please? Yes.
So the 16th century was still part of the period of colonization. And expectedly, the Catholic missionaries who came to our shores in 1521 were bringing with them that brand of Christianity that was European. That is why it's understandable that so many of our ideas and religious practices came from the European brand of Christianity, especially Catholicism. But if I may give you just a very general answer with regard to important teachings of the Roman Catholic Church, at least during that period, I would like to direct you to the ancient, very old Apostles' Creed, because the Apostles' Creed, the more fundamental beliefs and teachings of the Catholic Church. So I think many of the Catholics, also even Protestants, because I am aware that the Anglicans, the Lutherans, and other mainstream Christian churches have been making use of the Apostles' Creed. Perhaps some Protestant uh, religions made some modifications, but basically the substance has been retained. So when we recite at least every Sunday, we Catholics, during a Mass, we say, I believe in, what is it? Apostles' Creed. You have there the Holy Triune God, the Blessed Trinity, the Father who is the creator of everything. And then you have the Son, the Savior, the Redeemer who died for our sins. You have the Holy Spirit who was begotten from the Father and the Son. You have the church that was established by Jesus Christ. You have the communion of saints. You have the Jesus' ascension, resurrection, communion of saints, forgiveness of sins. And then that which we are all looking forward to, the end time, or the eschatological times, when the last judgment how do you call this one, will be done.
So, 𝗍𝗲𝗃𝗆. So that is those are the teachings in the 16th century. So we have already a reaction from Paras Matahari saying, "Hi, Sir Levy. Uh, hi, Sir Levy." Then,
Hi,
and
ma'am.
she also said, actually, is this edited? I saw that she said, "Guwapo gihapon." And Raffles, our one of our also one of our the youth who joined in our film production before, is asking if the Bactri Codex is available. Yes, this is available for sale, but we don't know yet if there is a book for free reading. So Dustin is saying, watching from UP Cebu. So our next question for Dr. Levy. So those were, you mentioned already the important teachings in the 16th century Spanish colonization. So we would also like to know later, but then, so may you also also share with us regarding the expansionist, about the Spain brought the religion to the different parts of the world. So we always say, like, you know, that it's guns. It's, I mean, no, not it's for, we would remember that it's, there were uh, books that would say that the Spaniards came here for to Christianize us. Is that, is it the main reason? Is it, or is it for the gold and glory? Okay, God, gold. We would hear God, gold and glory. Did they come here for really God primarily, or for the gold and glory? Or God, could God, gold and glory go together? Yes. It's a follow-up question.
I think it's all of the above. But as far as the Roman Catholic Church was concerned, their primary goal in joining the colonizers was really for God. And as far as the empire was concerned, it's for gold and glory. But of course, in reality, sometimes this God, gold, glory were intertwining. But I would say that despite, you know, the alliance of the Catholic Church, you know, with the empire, that the missionaries really still wanted to be faithful, you know, to their mandate, which was to proclaim the gospel of salvation.
So so when the Christianity became the religion of the Roman Empire, so how could we trace again how Spain became involved in it? Like, how, why did Spain become Catholic also and came here? So was Spain already the main the one who really propagated, which really propagated the Christian religion all over the world, when it became like, it's an old, actually, empire. It was the ancient empire at the time.
I really could not give you a a detailed answer, but I would say, you know, let us remind ourselves that Christianity started not in Europe,
Yeah.
but in Jerusalem. Okay, and then from Jerusalem, the missionaries, no, apostles like Peter, Paul, James, no, and the rest of the apostles went beyond the confines of Israel, and then they started to preach. No, they went northwards, and then eventually westwards, reaching as far as Rome, Italy, and of course, initially, Christianity became really flourished in Rome. And incidentally, Rome also became a very powerful place now from the military and the political perspective. Um, but anyway, you still remember, no, that for the first 300 years of Christianity, Christianity was some sort of a clandestine religion because it was subjected to
Persecution.
persecution, no, from a number of Roman emperors. And then came Constantine the Great in the 4th century AD. And that paved the way for the recognition eventually of Catholicism, no, as the official religion of the Roman Empire. And that was a turning point in the history of the Catholic Church, for good or for bad. Uh, of course, the one extreme view would be to say that it was really bad for Catholicism at that time, no, to get married to the Roman Empire, or that it was the other extreme is it was to the best, really the best interest of Catholicism. I would say that the answer lies in between. So because we always believe, no, that in actual realities, grace and sin would come together. No? That's from a theological perspective. No?
Yes.
But of course, the downside is that Catholicism had to make some compromises along the way, because the interests of the empire became intertwined with the interests of the church. And of course, from the Roman Empire, then came, how do you call this? The Roman Empire did not last long. No. Then you have the Carolingian Empire, Charlemagne, etc. And then until we have the Spanish Empire. See, Professor Borinaga probably must be more conversant with me when it comes to this world history thing.
Yes.
So when Spain and also Portugal, of course, became very powerful militarily, and so the Roman Catholic Church, having decided to ally itself with the powers that be, the missionary expansion, came hand in hand with the colonizing design of Portugal and especially Spain, because we were under Spain since 1521.
Yes. So in 1565, the Spaniards came back. After they were driven out of Cebu in 1521. Of course, even if the Cebuanos drove out the Spaniards by massacring them on May 1. So Lapu-Lapu and Humabon already had an alliance and massacred the remnants, the survivors of the Battle of Mactan in a feast on May 1. You would see it at our gallery, outside our gallery on history. And you would see that after the Battle of Mactan, the Cebuanos, there was a rivalry between Lapu-Lapu and Humabon. But after the Battle of Mactan, Humabon and Lapu-Lapu conspired against the Spaniards. They have now reconciled, and Humabon and Tupas led the massacre against the remnants of they destroyed the cross that the Spaniards planted, but they loved the Santo Niño and they took care of the Santo Niño, and they revered the Santo Niño and considered it as an anito, a rain god. So 44 years after, they came back. So we would now like to know the teaching. So in 16th century the Spanish colonization and occupation of the Philippines during the Spanish colonial rule, what were the teachings of the Catholic Church on sex, love, and marriage? So yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to spoil my Roman Catholic Church, but we're talking about the 16th century, bygone days. To be very straightforward, the view of sex being taught by the Roman Catholic Church at the time was kind of pessimistic. It's also androcentric. And then when it comes to their teachings on marriage, it was rather restrictive. And there were two giants, there were two famous, great minds, great theologians who exerted influence, in fact, lasting influence even until today. Their theological ideas have really held sway over the centuries. And these were Augustine, the famous Saint Augustine, who lived 3rd, 4th centuries. And then we also had Saint Thomas Aquinas, who lived in the 14th century. So remember, in fairness to both of them, they were also children of their times. So meaning to say that they did not actually, or they were not the original proponents of this very negativistic or pessimistic view of sex or sexuality. Neither they were the first proponents of this male-centered view of sex or sexuality. Because at the time, I would say that most of the human cultures were male-centered, no? Or misogynistic, patriarchal. In many parts, no, of Europe. So Augustine and Aquinas, no, also had to do their theological reflection, no, in the area of morality within the context of the kind of world that they were part of. So these are the main points, or a number of main points that were taught by Augustine. So for him, procreation is good. This was actually a reaction against the heresy of Manichaeanism, who believed or who taught that the matter body is evil while the spirit is good or noble. And it's also quite interesting that Augustine used to be a member of this Manichaeanism movement. But the ideology of the Manichaees somehow also had an influence on the mentality of Augustine. So the Manichaees actually believe that procreation is not good because it involves the bodies, no, material bodies. And Augustine, even if he came from that ideology, contradicted that, and he said, no, procreation is good, but it is not an absolute good, because it only becomes good when precisely it is meant to justify sex. So in other words, sex is really not good in itself. So when there is a sexual act, it has to be oriented towards the begetting of children. So sexual acts are sinful without procreative intent. Sexual pleasure is suspect. And this is really a very pessimistic outlook on sexual pleasure. And then Augustine also taught that the number one virtue is self-control and moderation. Try to restrain your bodily needs. Subject it to the higher faculty of reason. And Thomas Aquinas in the 14th century somehow echoed the teachings of Augustine, although he was influenced by the philosophy of Aristotle, which is not that Platonic or dualistic, but together with Augustine, Thomas Aquinas also believed that procreation is the sole purpose of sex. And then he adds, and this conforms to the law of nature or natural law. So it makes use of the Aristotelian understanding of the ordering of human life according to reason. And based on reason, humans can formulate or have the capacity to formulate norms or standards for human conduct. And this is also true in the realm of sex. People using the reason are able to know what is normative. Say, for example, if only they observe the behavior of animals and the constitution of the human body, the very physical makeup of our sexual organs are really meant to procreate. That's the point of Augustine. So the natural purpose of sex is procreation.
Daghang salamat, Dr. Levy. So does that mean that does that mean that anything at that time in 16th century or earlier, did they think that anything that is pleasurable is sinful? Would you commit sin if you are pleasured?
Yeah, based on the philosophy of Augustine and Thomas Aquinas, because they believe that the only justification for sex is for the begetting of children.
Yes.
That is natural law.
So,
So if you do sex, especially out of pleasure, without intending, if, say for example, even if a woman is fertile, that's gonna be a serious sin.
oh, how repressed they are at that time. They cannot experience pleasure with sex. So daghang salamat, Dr. Levy. So we have
Sorry.
Yes.
There's the androcentric very fast,
Yes.
less than 1 minute. So androcentric, uh, unfortunately, these two great saints no, are also kind of misogynistic. For example, Augustine would describe women as merely helpmates, no, because their essential function is to precisely to procreate. And then Aquinas no, also has described women as inferior to men. They are deficient male. They are in the service of the males. So,
The women.
yeah.
So
So
of
that's
course we would know that in order to procreate, the man should be pleasured. For, to have it should for him to to ejaculate the sperm for fertilization, he should be pleasured, but the woman does not need to be pleasured because her purpose is just to facilitate pregnancy and the birth of a child.
yeah,
Yes, but the man should also, it's
Mona.
it is very kind of, it is important, it is for the man to be pleasured, for him to facilitate procreation, 'di ba? So anyway, it's very sad years. and so we would know the changes of that later in the church teachings on sex, marriage, and family life. You would know the changes of that in in the modern times. So later, so now we would go back to the Spaniards came here in the 16th century, bringing those teachings and those culture and the religion that teaches that anything pleasurable is sinful. And now they came to our island, especially in the Visayas. And now we would like to know, we would now trace what were the practices of our ancestors during that time. So now we would have our Visayas historian. Stay tuned also for more sharing about the teachings of the Catholic Church later after we discuss. So we have discussed now the ancient practices, and we would also show you later the exhibit, our red room during the 𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗍𝗶, and but this is now just the red wall, and we would show you also some replicas of the gadgets of our ancestors. So now we have Dr. Rolly to tell us about the ancient Visayas. First, we would like to know the politics and culture of ancient Visayas.
Slides, please. Okay. So, politics. Okay. Visayan society in the pre-Spanish years consisted of gamuros, chiefdoms. This was the equivalent of the Tagalog barangay, which is taught in our textbooks. Now, the gamuro was ruled by a dato who was the executive, legislative, and judiciary all rolled in one person. In a sense, a gamuro or barangay was a tiny nation. Now, the pre-Spanish gamuros or barangays were war-fighting societies. But the barangays were potential enemies against each other, and so they always had to prepare themselves for war or conflict as a way of life at the time, all the time. Now, the context of war as a way of life had direct influence on the subject of this forum. a theory I raise here is that the expectation of war at any time had psychological impact on the native warriors who would defend their people from the enemies. It is no wonder that the best warriors were called lipung, literally confused in our interpretation now. Before this word was acquired a negative meaning other than that of a folk hero, the original definition of lipung was in fact a folk hero during pre-colonial times. Thus, these members of the war fighting society were psychologically stressed and distracted at the same time. As war fighting societies, the Visayans were largely organized for slave raiding, as indicated by the epic of Dato Sumanga, documented by Father Alcina. The Visayan pirates, 𝗵𝗴, were also much feared by the Chinese traders who came to our islands and their junks. This is recorded by 𝗪𝗪𝗃𝗀 in 1225. And as warriors, the Visayan combat feats were indicated by their tattoos, that they also had to maintain peace with each other, and so they underwent a confederation under a common Raja, which is availed up for peaceful relations between otherwise warring communities. At the time of the Magellan expedition, for instance, Raja Kulambo of Limasaw and Raja Awi of Caraga and Butuan were siblings, but Raja Kulambo accompanied Magellan in coming to Cebu because Humabon and somehow Dato Kulambo were basically related by marriage. Okay.
So, daghang salamat, Dr. Rolly. So, that was the, Dr. Rolly shared with us the Visayans, the Visayan politics, and of course, economy at the time, which is they were slave raiding. And I remember also this discussion last year with also this, a historian from Panay, who is with the UP Diliman History Department, who said that during those times, in ancient times, the Visayans were the terror of the seas in Asia. And we raided as far as China. So we were the first to go to China. So it's in another book, in another study, that we were the first to go to China because they were raiding. And according also to Dr. Vicente Villan in our discussion, that the Chinese were so scared of the Visayans, especially with the tattoos. They would lock up their homes when the Visayans would come. So the Visayans were slave raiders, seafarers, and also boat builders, ship builders. So that is so we would know why we have so many seafarers right now. We have so many seafarers right now, and of course shipbuilders. So that was the politics and economy at that time, and so we would like to know what was also the belief system in pre-colonial Visayas.
Slides this. Okay, when the Spaniards came, they described our ancestors as pagans. Now, unfortunately, the definition of pagan in our elementary and high school, wala tayong relihiyon, wala tayong relihiyon. But actually, definition of pagan is that our belief is not mainstream, not Christian at the time when the Spaniards came. But anyway, we had our own ancient religion and the corresponding deities. The Visayan supreme being was Laon, literally ancient, who lived in Mount Canlaon in Negros. 𝗵𝗴𝗃, actually, that is very popular among us as the Tagalog equivalent of Laon. Supposedly, Bisaya, our supreme being is Laon, not 𝗵𝗴𝗃, which is Tagalog. In Eastern Visayas, Makapatag was the son of Laon, who lived in Humonhon, which old name was Malhon or Malaon. And then when the Spaniards came, there was a substitution of rituals and deities. Our old churches were in fact 𝗥𝗃𝗃 trees where our ancestors performed their religious rituals and offered their offerings to their ancestor spirits. And so when the Spaniards came, they built the first churches near these very popular 𝗥𝗃𝗃 trees in many of our settlements. And basically, we prayed to our umalagad or ancestor spirits. And through the course of Christianization, these were replaced by saints. And our belief was that when you die, you go to the sulad. It's basically a waiting area where you have to cross a body of water to go to the saad. Now, the original concept of saad was basically heaven, but somehow during Christianization, heaven was reduced to a promise. Saad, promise na lang. Ano? So, now, our sulad became the purgatory, at least in the Christian context, and saad is the equivalent of paradise or heaven. Our ancient belief system, we did not have hell. Hell was introduced to us by the Spaniards. But it's just like in the European context, there was actually no purgatory also, and I guess until after 10th century. So sa Europe, parang they only had heaven or hell. But in the Philippines, we only had sulad, which is the equivalent of purgatory, and saad is basically our equivalent of heaven. So that was our belief system at the time.
Dahan salamat, Dr. Rolly. So we also had a discussion about our burial practices last October 29. Was it October 29? So you should look at our event at that time. It's Sulad Saad, the burial practices of the ancient Visayan. So we had no hell. Our ancestors had no concept of hell. They just need to fulfill some requirements, like having gold with them, having clothing, and also food that they would offer to their dead ancestors that they would meet on their way to Saad. So they needed to fulfill some requirements and the living relatives of the dead, so that they can go to Saad, which is paradise.
Yeah, that's the very concept why our ancestors had to wear gold in their persons, either in their teeth or earrings, something like that, because you cannot go across the water on a boat indicated by this manunggol jar in the National Museum. That there is somebody who will fetch you on a boat across from the sulad to the saad. And so even slaves during pre-colonial times had to wear gold in their persons. It's not so much to decorate themselves, but in as much as when you die and you are alone, then kung pangutanaan ka, do you have gold? Then you can always show your teeth. And then you can cross the water to Saad.
Yeah, so we have actually a replica also of the burial mask, the face mask. We have it there at our Galleria Independencia, and we also have our replica of the pre-colonial gold earrings. So we have this at our Sinugatan Gift Store Cebu. This is the Patanaw earrings. Our ancestors were clad in gold from head to toe. They have bracelets made of gold. So we have also we traced which part in our archipelago are still doing traditional jewelry making. It's already now brass. So we have also our brass bracelets from Lake Cebu. So we have it at our Sinugatan Gifts from Cebu. So they have gold anklets, gold belts, so gold necklace. So our ancestors had so much gold. Gold was their bahandi. aside from the slaves as their possessions. So that was the belief system. Our ancestors believed that there are custodian spirit. Even until today, the indigenous peoples, especially in Mindanao and other parts in the Visayas or our archipelago, there are still, the indigenous peoples are still practicing the the traditional belief system of believing that there are spirits in nature, in the trees, in the seas, and everything in nature, and you cannot do anything without doing a ritual or asking permission. So you cannot violate the tree or the forest or the sea or the river or the bodies of water or the mountain without, you need to ask permission from the spirit. And that belief was vanished with the Christian religion. Although right now, of course, there are changes regarding that. So we would know during the Spanish period that they were reclaiming already bodies of water, like that place in Patria, in Fort San Pedro. Those were bodies of water. It was unthinkable for our ancestors to cover, to reclaim, or to cover, or to violate, like cut trees without asking permission, or, they believe that God or the spirit, there is the deity, there is a God in all, in everything in nature. At the soil, when I went to the indigenous peoples in Mindanao, they had to ask permission if they would share with me their culture, and there was blood for the soil. There was also bloodletting, for like a chicken was slaughtered, and the blood was made to flow to the soil, to ask permission from the soil, and of course in everything in nature. So we have another question. Now we would now know about the ancient sex practices. Before that, I would like to say hi to Nathaniel Legaspi, watching from Pateros National High School, Asleya, also from Pateros, Hannah, Mitch from UP Cebu. So daghang salamat for joining us. JC also, De Vera from Pateros. So now we would now ask regarding this word IOT, IOT as spelled, and we would like to know this about this word IOT, and also the sex practices in pre-colonial Visayas. So we will have our Visayas historian, Dr. Rolly Barinaga.
Okay. Anyway, this surfaced in 2021. That is the Visayan word for sex, and I am among the first to have actually a copy of Father Mateo Sanchez's Vocabulary de la Lingua Bisaya. So before this was made available in the internet, I inherited the copy from Father Kobak. And so the word for Bisayan word for sex is iyot, sex or coitus, and I scanned there the item. It's basically iyot or coitus. For according to the definition of Father Sanchez, the figurative term was manghilawas, makighilawas, to play with the body, and the Spanish there is say also pakig-iyot, which is a bad word. Not so bad is pakighilawas. So that's the definition. And then he also provided another term, kiyor, which basically became kiyod, sex. The other term, kiyod, came forth because of the linguistic shift from R to D around the mid-1600s. Around that time, the impact of the Somore Rebellion in 1649-50, there was a massive shift in R to D in our Visayan words. So that at that before that letter R, and then after 1650 it became letter D. So my indication, my example always there was Father San Pedro Calungsod. You know? When he was born, he was San Pedro Calonsor before 1650. But when he died in 1672, his name was already Calungsod. Hindi na R to D. You know? So anyway, in the item, dictionary item, Kior is sex. Considered is considered a stupid word, torpe. Because, it refers to the indecent movements of pumping of the carnal act. So that's the definition of Father Sanchez. Now, last February 3, Ian Alfonso presented here the concept of dogs in Philippine history, and I came up with again habal. We have another Visayan word for habal is basically to mate. Habal is it's still being understood now. Is habal is it's pulsating, viril, ning habal, ano? But actually, the original definition of habal is basically to take the male to the female for mating. And in the 1711 dictionary, it is the male to the female, but in Sanchez de la Rosa's dictionary by 1921, habal was now, it's now to take the sow to the hog. It's now the female that will be brought to the male, you know? And the Tagalog, nawala na sila ng kuan. In Dogs and Philippine history, there's a chapter on casta because it's now the word being used for mating. Spanish word. Nawala na sila ng Tagalog term. In the book of Ian Alfonso, pag-aasawa ng aso, that was the term for mating dogs. But anyway, we had the term now habal-habal. It's basically a single motorcycle used as vehicle with the rider sitting astride behind the driver. But the symbolic meaning is that a passenger vehicle with the riders assume a position like animals in the act of mating. So in fact, human sex is iyot, but if it is animal sex, it is habal. We should differentiate one from the other, no? Iyot and habal.
Yeah, so actually, but then it is figurative also, like in in Cebu or other parts in Mindanao, habal is still used, it's still used. So according to Dr. Rolly, in Leyte or Samar, the habal word is no longer used. So they don't know that the actual meaning of habal is like to mate. So it's the possession, is a sex possession. Habal is a sex possession. It's how animals do the sexual act. So so now we would like to ask from Dr. Rolly the pre-colonial practices in sex, the sex practices in pre-colonial Visayas.
Slide, please. Okay, so we had when pre-colonial Visayans perform sex, they use instruments, tugbok, the pin, and sakra, which is the ring-like attachment. Tugbok was made of brass, gold, ivory, or lead, or a little tube of tin to protrude on both sides of the penis. They are anchored at the two ends with a kind of ring or cagwell with blunt teeth called sakra. Pellets implanted beneath the skin were another possibility as reported by another chronicler. Now, the more or less permanent item in the natives' male genitalia was the penis pin called tugbok. which was installed during boyhood from as early as 6 to 7 years old, while the girls were being buhuan na ang talinga para sa ariyos, the young males were basically parang gitaora na sila og tugbok sa ilang lagay, no? Penis. The penis rings called 𝗪𝗲 were only availed of later for sex acts during adolescence or adulthood. The missionaries felt offended by the native use of the word 𝗪𝗲 for the strange sex instrument because the word also meant sacred in Spanish. Well, that's a photo of penis pin or tugbok. And that's a photo of an penis ring, 𝗪𝗲. Okay. So, yun. That's it for now.
That's all. So you would also discuss the sex position or later na lang. So actually we would also like to show you. So this is in our exhibit. So we have replicas of the penis ring and the penis pin. So we would also like to show you some of these. So we have this as mentioned by Dr. Rolly. It's the penis ring. Also, they wear it in their genitals. So they had certain wheel or ring with rounded spurs made of lead, brush, and some cases gold. That's according to also to Dr. Rolly. So they have holes in the round part of the wheel or ring or in the upper part, and also the lower part. The upper and the lower part has a hole. So okay na, I will show my replica. So you would see in that in our display that there are different designs of the ring. So according to Dr. Earl Borinaga last year in our discussion, the woman would ask first, because actually in pre-colonial times they can have sex. They can have sex without marriage. So the woman would ask first, show me the design of your ring. Is it 299 pesos? No, no. The best design, if she doesn't like the design. So of course, there is tugbok also. So you would, Dr. Rolly already mentioned that. So the woman would know which design would give her the most pleasure. So of course, she would choose. If she doesn't like the design of the ring, wala, tag 299 na. The joke lang. Kanang design, ana, klaro ka, ana, 299 na. So dili ko, ana. So joker na ha. So this is the ring that is very valuable, the 𝗪𝗲, and the Spaniards called it 𝗪𝗲. So the 𝗪𝗲 was the ring that was very important. So according to also, so that's so the Spaniards really exerted so much effort to. So there were about, some wheels or rings are very large, there being more than 30 types of each with different names. So this is from the 𝗥cie Codex. So this is from the 𝗥cie Codex. There being more than 30 types with different names. So each design had a name. And in general, these are called 𝗪𝗲 in the native language. And there were more than 30 types with different names. And so there is also the tugbok, the pins. So this is now our replica of the pin. So it is actually a pair. So there is a hole there. So according to Dr. Rolly, as early as 6 years old, there is already a hole. So the pin is the male organ, the penis is already gikuan na siya, so it should not close. So there is also a pin that stays, and they would take it out when it's time to have sex. And with this, with already so it is said to facilitate the pleasure of the woman. Also the design. So it's a pair. So, oh, oh, grabe sila. Grabe sila kakuan. Grabe sila ka-innovative, di ba? They know so much about what would pleasure the woman, and the woman would choose the design that she likes. And so this is so they would uh, so they were scandalized. So the Visayan men wore a pin through their penis for the greater stimulation of their sex partners. And the custom startled the Spaniards, the Portuguese, and even the English observers, and scandalized the clergy, the missionary clergy, and they called them satanic. The gadgets were satanic. So the pin was inserted in childhood, and 𝗶𝗴𝗃 in 1521 examined closely, visually. Grabe to si 𝗶𝗴𝗃, no? As in, he examined the penises of the Cebuanos and described them in detail. Wow! Asa to siya? Asa siya? Where siya, doctor? So, So it si Pigafetta said it penetrated the urinary canal. So this tugbok, the pin, penetrated the urinary canal and had a hole to facilitate urination. So nasa siya hole. So mga surgeons sila, actually. There was already like surgery at that time. So naasad to sila, anesthesia tingali. They had anesthesia and of course antiseptic and antibiotic for their surgery. So of course even the pins were made of brass, gold, ivory, or lead with a tin or a little tube of tin driven across the head of the penis to protrude on both sides far enough to receive decorations, which ranged in size from simple rivets to hold them in place to rosettes as large as a rowel of a horseman's spurs. So amazing ang ilang mga penis. Daghang kaeg decoration. so they serve as an anchor to the ring or cogwheel with blunt teeth called sacra. And in the case of the rings, one or more pressed in like a finger ring. You would read more about this there at our poster later. So of course, this required the manipulation of the women. So now we would now like to ask Dr. Rolly to tell us more about courtship and marriage and maybe the sixth position. It is also there at our red room, red wall.
Slide. Slide, please.
Slide.
No. My slides.
Yes.
Okay. There was virtually no courtship in the Dato class and pre-colonial context. The Binocots were prepared for marriage to the highest bidders by the respective families. Pre-arranged marriages. There were rituals on how they would do it. Our present concept of romantic love, where the male and the female will meet and become familiarized, etc., wherein you can choose your future partner in life, was the prerogative of slaves in the Spanish context. Among the higher classes, the Timawa, Tumao, and Datos, they had different expectations for marriage, preferably within the same class. Most likely the position for IOT is the missionary posture, because it was the woman who would insert the pin and rings at the penis inside her vagina before the sex act. The mating position of animals is called habal, not iyot. Virginity was not a virtue in pre-Spanish Philippines. It was considered more of a liability. Father Andres Ordanita, as a member of the Loaiza expedition in the 1520s, reached Lianga Bay in Mindanao before proceeding to the Moluccas. This was where he joined the Legazpi expedition when he was already a priest. He was told that virgins were always deflowered by slaves who were not fitted with tugbok or sacra. The term for those who did this was batog, somebody who would ride over the female. So at that time, the babaylans actually trained trained their women how to perform sex, because especially if you married to a person from another tribe, muraga embarrassing kaayo nga dili ka kahibalo on how to do that. And well, as I mentioned earlier, there were war fighting societies, and the problem, it seems the problem from pre-Spanish colonial context as far as sex was concerned was erection among the males. So they had to be assisted to perform sex with specific instruments.
Yes. So, daghang salamat, Dr. Rolly. So, there is a shout out for you there is a shout out from 𝗟𝗲𝗃𝗆 historian. I'm not sure if this is from Las Piñas. Yes, pa shout out Dr. Rolly sa Dao Oras Eastern Summer. The from Las Piñas historian. And also there is also a comment from 𝗷𝗵𝗃𝗆 Happy Valentine's, and thank you for this educational event. Daghang salamat, Robbie, for watching. And also we have also Nika Loren saying watching from SDO Tapat, and also Carlvin watching from UP Cebu. And Nafaren's question is it made of steel or brass? So we have Dr. Rolly to answer this.
There's the preferable for tugbook is gold.
Gold.
But they can have brass and some other materials, including tin.
Yes.
Metal.
Yes. So daghang salamat, Dr. Rolly. So now we would also like to show you our exhibit at our red wall. So one that we would like you to know is also the 𝗥𝗃 Codex. The 𝗥𝗃 Codex description of how. So actually, the pen. Michael, we need the the slide of the. But maybe I will just show first. So actually, the 𝗥𝗃 Codex mentioned that this would facilitate the pin and the pin and the ring. So it's a pair, and the woman would insert this actually, but this would these gadgets. Meron akong picture kanino. so these gadgets actually the men will have access with the women through these gadgets, with whom they remain joined for a day or a night, in the way dogs remain when they have concluded a similar act. And this they find delectable, especially the women. Murag di maklaro atong kung ano kanang graphics. So 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 the Spaniards exerted special efforts after coming after these people to abolish abominable and bestial custom among the natives, punishing with beatings those who use them. And in spite of this, they continue. So actually, in one of our discussions last year about the fashion and the aesthetics of pre-colonial Visayans, our resource person at the time is Professor 𝗍𝗲𝗃 at the UP Cebu Fine Arts, and he mentioned about the natives, like the men, their bolo actually that they use for agriculture and for war, have parts which are made of wood, and it would just float in the river, because every day the man would take a bath in the river before retiring at night. So I would say, I told him, of course, you would be joined from night until morning. So the men were warriors at daytime, and so how many hours is from night until morning? 6 hours? 8 hours? So they would be joined. And actually, this would not come off. Like according also, Dr. Rolly mentioned this, and also our references would say that this would not be removed until the penis get soft. So if they are joined from night until morning, which means did they take herbs that made them stay joined from night until morning or during the day? Like, it's, what's the description? Um, they 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 remain joined for a day or a night in the way dogs remain when they have concluded a similar act, and the women find it so delectable. So, mao na siya. Amazing. Nag-drugs na sila. Oh, nag-drugs. Not to sila herbs, though. Kaya actually, di ba, our babaylanes, the healers at the time, were so good in, like, healing, and also having, when we had a discussion, they poisoned their enemies they actually used poisons to make the Spaniards leave Cebu and the Visayas. They poisoned the Spaniards, and also in our discussion last February 3, they already had poisons, for example, for mercy killing or euthanasia of the pet that have gone, that's very already old and is suffering, and their mercy killing is through poison. So they can make poison. So my question, what do you think, Dr. Rolly? So if they are joined like night until morning, so did they have possibly herbs that made them do it? Like, they have the capacity to do it?
Wala naman, because what really happened there is that it's because there is the ring that otherwise, without the ring, the penis will come out. It's the ring that will keep the penis in place inside.
How can they stay awake from night because of the basta ganahan lang sila. So that is, we need to study more about this. Our pharmacologist, maybe. So there is already, so Dr. Raleigh also mentioned about the practices in courtship. So there is, in Father Francisco Alcina's description of this epic, in like, 𝗏𝗏 was courting this, even if 𝗏𝗏 was courting this very beautiful princess in Bohol, she is Bubong Humasanon. Yes. So supposedly, for nobles, there is actually arranged marriages. But then, in this case, in the epic of Dato Sumanga and Bubong Humasanon had so many demands. Please tell us about this, Dr. Rolly.
Well, Dato Sumanga wanted to marry. She basically wanted to marry Bobong Humasano na Bohol, and they had not seen each other. In fact, just sending delegates. Then there are so many demands. Can you give me first? The request was, give me the boyo, which is which means that when you give the female would give the boyo, that will be a basic symbolic agreement that she would agree to marry. But no, she said, okay, we do not have that, so please get the materials for the boyo from these places. So most likely the boyo was taken from Leyte, and the bonga was taken from some other place. And then when the materials were there, said, I will not prepare this unless you do some raids, my enemies. So Caraga, so Dato Sumanga raided Caraga, brought some slaves for Dato Bubong Humasanon. Then again, not enough. So raid Camiguin, raid Mindanao, raid Sulu, and so on, so forth. And then the last challenge was raid China. And so this was a series of raids, basically to bring slaves for Bubong Humasanon. And then the last challenge was try to go to heaven and get me something that you can offer me. And so I am tracing the myth history of Dato Sumanga, and I have gone, in fact, to this place in Borongan, where there is, in fact, they have what they call the sea of clouds. So basically, apparently, Dato Sumanga thought that by going above the clouds, he can, in fact, go to heaven. So, but anyway, he had not reached heaven. He had basically just reached a place above the clouds. And then he said, okay, I have gone that far, but not enough. But anyway, if you do not give me that boyo, I will, in fact, go to your place and just grab your hair and cut it off. And then anyway, Bubong Humasanon finally agreed. They sent the buyo, and then they basically were married according to their customs.
Salamat, Dr. Rolly. So the buyo, so actually, so si Bubong Humasanon was a very demanding woman. So she asked him to get buyo from Caraga, also from Siquijor, from the town of the Pitan, island of Sulu, and to China, and to get buyo, and also slaves. She wanted slaves from China. She's from Bohol, and Dato Sumanga is from Leyte. So and then she asked him to go to heaven and bring me the same things that you got me from earth. So from land. So we would see that actually even if it's arranged marriage, the woman still can demand still from the man. So we have in our exhibit our example of the buyo. So this is the buyo leaf. So it's still sold in the market. So the buyo, according to also to the Baxter Codex and to Father Francisco, this is from Father Francisco Alcina. So it is, they said, according to Father Francisco Alcina in 1668 in his book about the history of the Visayan Islands, the natives masticate it. It's a terrible preoccupation of the natives, even more so to the Spaniards have been already acquainted. It is ugly use for the Spaniards. Is this the uses for this leaf is very ugly. It is, aside from its peppery quality and its quality which is lustful, because some of the evil uses of this buyo, they can give it or receive it as a sign of affection and goodwill, or to reconcile themselves with someone after displeasures or petty arguments. And one who cannot or does not dare to speak openly with a woman that he wants or desires, he requests from her the buyo. So kung di ka bugnaw kag simod, bugnaw kag simod that you in ancient Visayas, if you can't say, if the man can't express himself, his desire for a woman, he would just give the woman the buyo. But then if the woman does not accept it, it means wala, di pwede, dili pwede. So if she does not give this to, she would ask, actually no, sayop ko, the man would ask buyo from the woman. So moingon ang babay, no, I don't have any buyo. So just like Bubong Humasanon, you get the buyo yourself. You get it from these places. So if the woman doesn't give the man buyo, so dili pwede. Pero kung if she does, so there it is a sign. If she doesn't give him, then it is a sign that he must stop hoping. Wala kay paglaom, walay pag-asa. Kung dili mo hatag og buyo ang babay. If she does, it is a sign of consent, and thus it proceeds like a matter is accomplished, even if they have not spoken. So this courtship is actually for sex. It's different from being married. So they confess as something sinful to have given or received this buyo for the secondary intention. And then, so this is the description of Father Alcina. And the woman of little shame is wont to send the buyo to him who seems desirable to her. This is the same as calling him so that they may see each other. So if a woman desires a man, so at that time, in pre-colonial times, in pre-colonial Visayas, the woman can actually express her desire for a man. If she wants to have intimacy with a man, she can send him a buyo. And for Father Francisco Alcina, it's very shame. The woman is shameless. It's unthinkable for Europeans that a woman would express her affection or her desire for a man. It's not allowed. And the women here in the Visayas, it's normal for them. So of course, virginity is according to 𝗶-𝗴, it's the sexual organ, the sexual organ of the woman is already opened as early as 6 years old, and we had our resource person in 2022 about from Bicol, Dr. Dani Hirona, who wrote about Magellan, and he got this archival document, a report of the Augustinians in late 15 in early late 1500s, 1595. It's a report of a priest about the witch in Cebu. The witch in Cebu who are bad women like prostitutes because they would they bewitch the Spaniards. And according to Dr. Dani Hirona, there is this belief in ancient Visayas that if the woman's sexual organ is not being penetrated by a penis, then the bad spirit would come. So kana siya. They have a different belief system or concept about sex, that sex is actually good. It benefits them. And if it is not, if a penis does not enter the vagina, then the bad spirits or evil would go inside. So, of course, according also to the 𝗏𝗃 Codex and also to William Henry Scott in the barangay, the premarital sexual mores were lax. Contacts between single men and women went unremarked. So it was normal to have sex, but it is not. But it is shameful to be pregnant. It is shameful to be pregnant without marriage. So you can have sex but not pregnant at that time. So ang ana ilang belief. So we have more of that there. So so the virginity is as said by Dr. Rolly is but is not beneficial for them. So of course if you are a virgin, so it means that a penis has not penetrated the woman's sexual organ, and it is something bad for the ancient Visayans. But then I would like to ask, because William Henry Scott mentioned about the binukot, the woman who is not seen by other men or by people, they are secluded. So William Henry Scott mentioned that the binukot were virgins. So were they exempted from this the being penetrated, like those slaves that would already that would prepare, and also the babaylan who would prepare the women to know about sakra and pins. Well, I'd like to have Dr. Rolly.
Well, the concept of binukot is that dili ka makalusad. You cannot go out under the sun and you cannot go down the house. But it seems they were in fact initiated into these things by the babaylans, because they were parang sila tong they were in fact the very representative of the village to other people. So I guess that was the same thing. It was done by the babaylans also on the binukot. They will just bring the batog who will initiate the woman on how to do sex act right in her room, supervised by the babaylan actually.
Daghang salamat, Dr. Rolly. So Virginia Ariza is saying Happy Valentine's Day, Sir Rolly, my professor in my college years. And Sobi Wing from Canada is saying this seems like a guarantee of procreation being locked in missionary possession. Actually, Sobi, this being locked for 6 to 8 hours is not missionary possession but dog style. According to the 𝗍𝗃 Codex, it's they are joined like in a dog style possession for 6 to 8 hours. So Sobi is saying, surprised there is not more than one position, especially with tantric traditions that may have been present. So this is mentioned that the dog style was really frowned upon. The Spaniards were so angry about it, and they would beat up the natives that would be found to be using the dog style possession. So Mary Rimorca is saying, is this nga? So buyo and bunga are part of those for nga, or it's in here it's mama. Yes, mama. Mga or nga in Tagalog. Yeah, and then also yes, nga. So we have already this question. So if you have more questions, we have also in our red wall actually our some things about marriage and also divorce. So Dr. Rolly will mention later more about also about parenting and parenthood in pre-colonial Visayas. Now we would now go back to our to the Christian practices, the Christian religion, the Roman Catholic religion. Please put your questions and comments at the comment section for those online, and those on site. You can have the floor during the open forum. We also have our reactors in a while. So we would like to ask our theologian, Dr. Levy, regarding the Second Vatican Council. It's a very important council for the Christian. It's ecumenical. World ecumenical. You can, Dr. Levy can tell us more about this and why is this important? Why was there a need for the Second Vatican Council?
Before I respond to that, I just like to go back to one of the things that Professor Borinaga revealed to us regarding the moral sensibility of the missionaries now being offended, by the use of this pleasure-inducing devices. And I think this is really a confirmation of what I said earlier, that this has something to do with a very pessimistic view of the European brand of Catholicism. So in that perspective, you could understand the negative reaction of the missionaries. Now, this is the redeeming moment for the Catholic Church. Well, actually, I'm not very much comfortable with the adjective Roman because I'm not a Roman Catholic. I'm a Filipino Catholic. But I guess the title of the name is used to distinguish, Roman Catholicism from other branches of Catholicism, like for example, Orthodox. There is that Orthodox wing of Christianity that does not subscribe to our papal primacy. All right. So the Second Vatican Council was really a watershed in the history of the church. It was convoked by John the 23rd in 1963 and ended in 1965. So basically, the purpose of the objective of the Second Vatican Council was to put the Catholic Church on the path of renewal. And how to do this, they had to engage in honest to goodness discussions on issues and concerns that have a bearing on on the modern world. And for this, there were two kind of opposite but complementary directions that were guiding The participants, by the way, were all bishops. There were, I think, 2,000 bishops, more or less, who joined this as very epochal Second Vatican Council. And these two guiding directions were ad fontes, or ressourcement in Latin, which means going back to the sources, especially the Bible, the scriptures, because for so long a time, for many centuries, somehow, the Roman Catholic Church, found itself kind of disconnected because of its layers and layers of practices and teachings. So they wanted to go back to the core story of Jesus Christ and the biblical teachings. So that's ad fontes, or ressourcement. And then the other direction is aggiornamento. This has become a byword among the participants, and also even today this word is popularly used among Catholics. Aggiornamento simply means the path to renewal, updating, that is. So this Second Vatican Council produced, beautiful uh, documents that perhaps some Catholics found a little bit radical. For example, it was unthinkable before for Catholics to believe in the so-called freedom of conscience. So this was also hotly debated during the Vatican Council. And in the end, those theologians, those Catholics who were ahead of their times, were vindicated because the freedom of conscience, a doctrine or teaching, has found itself into the pages of the Second Vatican Council document. That's only one example.
So, what were the most important practices that changed after the Vatican II?
Okay. There were a lot of course, religious practices, that were reformed. But I think the most visible is in the area of worship. Kinsa man ninyo nakaabot sa Latin Mass? Wala, no? Latin Mass? Ha? Okay, Roel. That I mean, yes, yeah, Gabriel, my former student. Hi. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Sorry, I stand corrected. But you look like my student before. Anyway, um, I'm talking about the time, the period in the history of the Catholic Church when masses, were said in Latin. All right, masses were not said in vernaculars yet. I remember it was only during the homily or the sermon of the priest, when he would stand, di ba naaman ni mulag kining balcony diri sa side sa kanan niya with booming voice, because that was the time when there was no sound system yet. Kabot ko ana. So then came the reforms instituted by the Second Vatican Council. So now masses now are translated in languages or dialects that people could actually understand, so that they will be able to consciously and actively participate in the celebrations of different liturgies, especially the Mass. Because what is the point of celebrating something now when you are disconnected, even in terms of language? The other change was that before, the presiding priest would turn their backs on the congregation, so everybody was facing the cross, the altar. So that changed. And then another reform was in many churches, especially there are no more communion rails. You have gone to a lot of Catholic churches now without communion rails. And so I remember whenever we would receive communion, no, we would kneel down, di ba? We would kneel down sa communion rail and then receive the body of Christ with our tongue. And that also has changed. Now, we are now allowed to, to receive the sacrament, the body of Christ in the form of host, no, by opening our palms, no. So it's just one of the, and then there are sacramental rites that also have been simplified. No? The language have been made really understandable to the people. That is why when this new English version of the Eucharist, which was actually a kind of a going back to the pre-Vatican II days, they were kind of criticized, no, also by reform-minded theologians, even church leaders, no, because why do we have to reform something that already has been reformed? So, for example, how many of you understand the word consubstantial? Wala na. Dili na ba translate sa Cebuano, di ba? Ang atong version sa misa sa Cebuano ra gihapon. Wala na translate. Kining Lord, I'm not worthy that you enter under my roof, no, etc. No? So the mass became even a little bit complicated, no, but no translation was made, no, from Latin to vernacular, and then napay usapod kaniadto, it was unthinkable, no, for women to be reading the Word of God, no, in the pulpit, no. Now this has been accepted totally. And then here in the picture, confessions that were done before inside confessional boxes, no? Separating the confessor from the penitent. Now this practice of having a face-to-face confession, minus that barrier, no, is gone. Although it also depends, no, on priests. No, I know there are still priests who prefer the traditional way of hearing confessions. So these are just some, tangible expressions of change.
Dahil salamat, Dr. Levy. So now our last question for Dr. Levy, and we go back to Dr. Rolly and also some other items in the Red Room and trivia quiz with exciting prizes and of course the reaction from our reactors. So how does the Catholic Church adapt to the modern times, especially with regards to the teachings on sex and marriage? And what is the role of the youth on concerns related to sex and marriage?
All right. Direct answer, by becoming an open, humble, listening, dialogical church. So let me cite this kind of a landmark statement from Gaudium et Spes number 33. Gaudium et Spes is one of the major documents of the Second Vatican Council. So I quote, "The Church safeguards the deposit of God's Word from which religious and moral principles are drawn." Okay? So this is something that is very constant in the teaching tradition of the Catholic Church. It always tries to anchor its teachings on the Word of God. But then here is the more interesting part. It does not have always a ready answer to individual questions. And it wishes to combine the light of revelation with the experience of everyone in order to illuminate the road on which humanity has recently set out. So we are talking about the modern world here. No, the Council Fathers now have humbly admitted that the church does not have all the answers to all life's vexing and complex questions. And so in order to be able to discern God's response, no, in the manner of speaking, it has also to listen to other sources, no, especially human experiences that are, of course, changing and dynamic. So, with regards to sex or love, sex, and marriage, so Vatican II shifted from a very restrictive to a broad meaning of marriage. So it says in Gaudium Spes, I quote, intimate partnership of life and love constitutes the marriage state established by the Creator. And then it is rooted in the irrevocable personal consent. Another beautiful statement, the intimate union of marriage as a mutual giving of two persons and the good of the children demand total fidelity from the spouses and require an unbreakable unity between them. And then there's also an allusion to the equality of sexes. The unity of marriage, distinctly recognized by our Lord, is made clear in the equal personal dignity which must be accorded to man and wife in mutual and unreserved affection. Uh, so, and then the language of Vatican II also changed, no? Because before, as I told you, the primary language of sex, no, between married couples is procreation. And secondary only is the sexual expression of the conjugal love, no, of couples. So primary is procreation, secondary is sexual expression. But with Vatican II, the primary secondary language is now removed. So it just simply says that every marital sexual intercourse, no, is directed towards procreation and the expression of the love commitment between couples, committed couples. And then of course later on, during now we are now in post-Vatican II times. Now there are theologians now who have even gone beyond, meaning to say that it is enough that the conjugal love is the very justification of a sexual act, which may or may not lead to procreation. I still have time.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
The last maybe is how does what is the role of the youth in this? Most of our audience actually from millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. There's still one. So to be open in listening church simply means that the Catholic Church now has realized now that it has got to listen to theories and insights now coming from different disciplines now in ethical reflections. So this is called the interdisciplinary character of moral theology. Theologically, we say that the voice of God is not only heard in the Bible and in theology, but we can also hear the voice of God even in secular sciences, human sciences like sociology, anthropology, history, etc., etc. And then now there is a leaning towards the ethic of relationality and responsibility, not anymore the ethic of law, the so-called deontological approach, where the law is far more important than the human person. So now it's really the onus of ethical responsibility is now put on the commitment, on the conviction of the person himself, now who is the one making moral decisions. Now, this is not to say that the moral decisions of Catholics must be done apart from the tradition of the Catholic Church, or also the traditions of other communities that people are part of. because we can because in other what do you call this one, sources, communities, traditions, for example, like what you mentioned, that the respect of our pre-colonial ancestors towards nature. No, so they will never do anything not to destroy nature. And the nature for them cannot be given a price or cannot be commercialized. So, and then of course there's also now the appreciation of human experiences as a source and locus of theological reflection. So experiences not only of the male but also of the female. So there is now listening to women's body selves. No, this is one of the things that the feminists, no, or women are really trying to push. Do not regard us as objects or commodities. No, do not regard us as creatures who are only good for home and hearth. We are our bodies, every one of us. So what is the role of the youth? These are just suggestions. You may take it or leave it, or maybe you can find something very useful here. So number one, be committed witnesses to the sacredness of sex and marriage that is anchored on love. There is something striking in the presentation of Professor Borinaga and Ma'am Kare. And that it's very clear that the sexual practices of our pre-colonial ancestors were being done in the context of certain community rituals or community norms and regulations. So when you talk about premarital sex, it is not something that is separate, no, from community norms. In other words, it's the community, the tribe, no, that controls the sexual behavior and attitudes of our ancestors. Now it's different. When you talk about premarital sex, it's a purely private decision of young people. Am I right? It has nothing to do anymore with the community. Does not, except perhaps no, in I would say there's still quite a number of traditional families that observe this. No, for example, we still have this pamamanhikan. No? But prior to that, we have, but dili man ni siya Christian practices actually, no, cultural practices man ni siya kanang magharana. Ugikan ba na siya sa Europe? Oh, Europe, no. So for the Catholic Church, no, basing itself, no, on her moral wisdom, it is love. No? Love must be the horse, and the sexual acts must be the carriage. So it's not you put sex ahead of love. No, that's not going to work. Okay. Second, if you can also listen to the wisdom of moral tradition. Why? Because this moral tradition has been a result of accumulated, insights and learnings and sayings of a particular community. In particular, no, Catholic community or Catholic Church. Somebody said that, I don't know if young people will agree with this, that one of the greatest sins of the youth, is to refuse to listen to the wisdom of tradition. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, social media also has a role in this. Now, social media has a very powerful kind of a centripetal force that pulls you into your own concerns, your own interests, no? My own decisions in life. But the centrifugal force is forgotten. So, if you really appreciate the wisdom of the church's moral tradition, you try to personally own and then transmit the tradition with this time-tested moral wisdom. I am not saying that you have to sacrifice your critical faculty, because admittedly, there are perhaps elements in the religious tradition of the church that need to be reformed. So, of course, a very good example of that is this patriarchal underpinning of the so many centuries of the Catholic Church's moral teachings. I think no one in his right Catholic mind will say that man and woman are not equal. But if you see that there are still aspects in our Catholic moral tradition that say do not really do justice to the principle of human dignity, or that it still continues to put barriers, when it comes to races, when it comes to genders, etc., then I think it is not just your right to express yourself, as people who love the church, but also your responsibility to do it, because you will be helping reform the church. If there are no dissenting voices in the church, I do not think that the Catholic Church would have reached this point in time. And then last suggestion ako, as far as your role is concerned, is try to promote a culture of gender equality. So you know that gender is a socially constructed reality. It is not something that comes directly from heaven. So you try to resist the tendency to essentialize gender differences. Of course, the Catholic Church still remains, still would like to retain its traditional teaching on heterosexual marriages, because the norm is in the Bible, man and woman. All right, but many theologians in the Catholic Church, do not adopt a very stringent or a very strict position, when it comes to this. But as far as the official magisterium of the church is concerned, I would say it would take kind of a miracle for the Roman Catholic Church to change her teachings on homosexuality, etc. I cannot predict what's going to happen in the future. But if you look at the history of the moral teachings of the church, there had been a lot of changes that have happened. A very good example of this, kanang interest. Kay ba mo ang kanang interest sa dako na nga sa kanang nay mangutang nimo nya patungon nimo interest, mortal sin na siya. Nana sa Bible. Karon, ang banking system, kinsa may moingon nga ang interest mortal sin.
So, daghang salamat, Dr. Levy. So, we would like to show you more of our display or exhibit. And then we would also ask Dr. Rolly later regarding the parenting of the pre-colonial, in pre-colonial Visayas. So, we would like you to know that, of course, we have there in our display regarding the marriage, the practices in marriage in pre-colonial times, according to Antonio Pigafetta, Mike. So, according to Antonio Pigafetta, in the first voyage around the world, it is in our, pwede lang, ako nilang, i-show na to, ang sa red room, red wall. So, they can have as many wives as they wish, but one of them is the principal wife. Ang camera nimo, ang camera. So, they have this custom concerning marriage, that when a man wants to marry off his son to another man's daughter, the two fathers come to an agreement. So this is also from the 𝗥cie Codex in 16th century. The fathers come to an agreement as to what the groom's father will pay for the marriage. So obviously, sex is separate from marriage, and a certain quantity of gold or its equivalent as they may agree upon, depending on the rank of each party. And this is given to the girl's father to keep it until the couple has their own separate house, and then it is given to them. And in these marriages, the parents of both sides help each other in this way. And the father of the bride requires the father of the groom to pay his creditors something on account of the marriage. So actually, marriage is actually an economic or political uh, alliance and or an activity, and what is given to the parents remains with them. A man can marry any woman he wants, even if he has a previous wife who is alive, and he is not punished for this. So this is from the 𝗥cie Codex. This is from the point of view of the Europeans that came here. And if one wants to unmarry his wife, he can do so by leaving her with what he gave her at the time of marriage, which price they call bigay, or bugay na, or bigay. Bigay, and which in Spain we call dowry, because this is written by a Spaniard. And if a woman wants to unmarry, so actually there is divorce, they can unmarry. If they're married, they can unmarry each other. So the man would uh, would also, so he would pay twice. The man would pay twice. If he wants to leave his wife, he would give again the same amount that he gave her during marriage. And if the woman wants to unmarry, the woman also can say that to be unmarried, and she keeps nothing, and one of them, of the two, can later marry. It is not considered a bother or someone appeal sa marriage, that it is not a deterrent to marriage, that the woman is not a virgin, because by the time women reach a marriageable age, most of them are no longer virgins. But they do not mind this, but it is considered an affront for an unmarried woman to give birth. So they can have sex but not be pregnant. So, so of course, it is said, of course, Father Chirino was saying that most, and of course, also from Alcina, he said that most noble ladies were married and still married more against their will than the common people. So, because it is a political or economic alliance, marriage is a political or economic alliance, the noble ladies, according also to as interpreted by Dr. Rolly in Alcina, that the common people are more free to choose whom to marry than the noble. Except, of course, Bubong Huwa Masanan, who was so powerful and demanded so many things. And according also to, of course, we have this published by 𝗵 Heritage Hotel from 𝗍𝗫𝐶. This is it has actually, and this book has an account, a short history of Cebu from 1500s to 1890s by 𝗍𝗫𝐶. 𝗍𝗫𝐶 was a former seminarian of the Missionaries of the Sacred Heart, MSC, and he was the first to publish a book on really the comprehensive history of Cebu. And this has a history of how Cebu was, how the religious missionaries came to Cebu. And it also mentioned, he also mentions here how Tupas was, when he was baptized again, di ba? He was baptized in 1521, and they massacred the Spaniards. I mean, the Spaniards came back. He was baptized again. He was already 70 years old, but he was asked to have only one wife. And he was so ashamed. He was so embarrassed. It was an embarrassment for a man to only have one wife. So at that time, so he was not, he was not, it took him a long time to, to fulfill that requirement to only have one wife. So also, of course, according also to Father Chirino, and this is in the barangay of William Henry Scott, that the husband and wife separated for the least reason in the world. So they were so, the Spanish missionaries were so scandalized by how they practice divorce. Like, if you want to unmarry, you can unmarry. So they can unmarry for the least reason. They can separate for the least reason in the world, if they are incompatible, neglect, or misconduct. So a woman who had been married only once, a man or a woman who had been married only once was an exception rather than the rule. It was common for them to be married many times. to be divorced, and also to marry again. So it's very seldom that someone would be married only once in pre-colonial times. Divorce was common, and the premature death of a partner was uncommon. So remarriages filled families with half-siblings and adopted nephews, nieces, and foundlings. So maon to siya. Actually, but then, of course, infidelity is not allowed. So if you are married, you can only have sex with the one you married. So if before marriage, you can have sex with anyone, but during marriage, they can only have sex with the one that they married to. So, and then the penalty for that is, of course, if the one who was unfaithful or had sex with someone else can be killed. But unless the partner would forgive. So if the a partner would forgive, so it's okay. so uh, so if it's here, so it's if the woman commits adultery, the husband can leave her and take away all that she has. And on finding the adulterer, the husband can kill him anywhere without any penalty. But if the husband is given something, he can accept it and forgive her because of it, no matter if it's of little value. And with this, there were no reproaches. So mo na siya. So the reason they are not permitted to marry as they desire, katong mga noble ladies, they were married more against their will. So these natives do not, according to Father Alcina, these natives do not seek the peace, pleasures, desires of these noble women, but their own interests. The parents, according to Father Alcina, so this is according to his point of view also, why these noble ladies cannot choose whom to marry. So a woman would divorce herself, but still the noble lady can divorce herself, although she would know that she would spend her life miserably and in need. This is according to Father Alcina. So during that time also, it was considered they had also this contraception, their belief on their practices on contraception. It is considered for an unmarried woman to give an affront for an unmarried woman to give birth. So there are women who need the stomach of the pregnant woman and place certain herbs. So they are actually chemists and herbalists already at the time. So they know how to have an abortion, causing the infant inside to die. And unmarried women who are pregnant also do this, since it considered a disgrace to have children if not married, although they do not mind going with men and becoming concubines. This is from the 𝗥cie Codex. And women consider it an affront. So it is unthinkable for a woman to give birth many times, saying that by having many children, they are like pigs. So 500 years ago, the women only have 2 children. The most children or the babies that a woman can have in pre-colonial times is 2. After having 1 or 2 children, when they are noticeably 3 or 4 months with child, they kill the infant in their womb. So the term kill, actually, it's from the 𝗥cie Codex, and deliver is stillborn. So because, of course, this is from the Europeans, and the women also, the women didn't want to have more than 2 children. So I had a theory about this, that maybe that was why the men who wanted more warriors and more women, like daughters and sons, would have more wives. They had a principal wife and secondary wives. The woman would only want to have two children and no more. So we would like to show you the last of the modern gadgets. So murag remnants of the pre-colonial gadgets. So we have these bulitas. We have also I haven't read the circumcision. So there was also a practice in circumcision. So so of course the man who, I don't have my kind of script. So it was 𝗀𝗃. It was called 𝗀𝗃. So this is from William Henry Scott. So the practice was widespread in the Visayas, and they said that it was practiced. It predated Islam. So for them, the man who is not It's removal of the skin covering the tip of the penis during childhood. And it's the uncircumcised man is called pisot. They're called pisot. So it means unripe, derived from the term of an unripe fruit or green youth. So sa unang panahon, 500 years ago, more than 500 years ago, they were already circumcised. And the one who is not circumcised is called pisot. Until today, it's still called pisot here. So it does not have a specific ceremony, and it was thought to serve hygienic purposes. So they thought it to be hygienic, and it predated Islam. So, asa na ta? Bulita sa ta? Nasa pailain diha. Single motherhood, contraception, yes. So, we have this natay sample. Grabe, asa kanina ang, so our team here looks for the bulitas. So, maklaro diha. Maklaro ang bulitas dito. Maklaro ang dito, sa dito. So, murag na asad tay, actually, so, adi maklaro, pwede ipaduol? Oh, so, kana. Layo. So, ang bulitas, so naani siya, dili ni ang whole. Kay so, ano ko nga, at first, abi na ko, isulod ni, dili di ay. No, tanawa, dagko kayo sa, sa pre-colonial time. So, there is kining mga bulitas diri. So, it's the men. So, this is from, my reference for this, kaya I was looking for a reference. The penis inserts in Southeast Asia by Donald Brown in 1988. And they studied the penis inserts in Java, in the Philippines, and other parts. And their study was 1910 and early 1900s. So wala na ni. So wala na ning ring. And then so they replace it with a very small, tanawa ra good. Ang kini siya, kining mga, pwede ipaduol sa ako? Pwede sa ako? Kaya ako, di ko kabalo how to do it. Maybe you know how to do it. Pwede kini ipaduol ang camera na ako. So actually, kining mga small balls dire, natabunan ko. So, pwede, kini siya, kining mga balls dire. These more na siya ball bearings. And these are surgically embedded under the fold of the propus of the penis. So kana siya kini mo ikuan didto surgically insert. So maara to. So kato siya. So according to Donald Brown et al., the comparative perspectives support their thesis. Their thesis was that the penis inserts in Southeast Asia, the penis inserts, cover ko. So the penis inserts in Southeast Asia are in part explained by the autonomy of women. So they in the region, the nexus being genital surgery and female pleasure is salient in the thought of Southeast Asian men. In the Southeast Asians, including its women. So they have this, the men have this for the pleasure of the woman. So of course, in pre-colonial times, it was the 𝗏𝗃 Codex or in the barangay. They also mentioned about the Europeans, the Spaniards were so scandalized of women because they would be actually they think that those gadgets are, if the man uses the gadget, it is a compliment for her. And they would boast about their lovers, so are good lovers, during the feast or during their gathering with drinking of tuba. And they would call their lovers, the good lovers, as 𝗓𝗃𝗃 or a worship. So we have this our 𝗓𝗃𝗃 inspired bar at the Jardín Dagami with the dragon head. So it's the year of the dragon, year of the bakunawa. Tuig sa mga bakunawa. The 𝗓𝗃𝗃, the worship, has a bakunawa or the head of the dragon. So the women would say that the men who pleasure them and who, because of using the gadgets, are worships. so we have so we still have also this pilok sa kanding. So grabe na kayo. So this is still modern. So this is how the sakra became pilok sa kanding. Is this hygienic? Sterilized ni? So they think that the pilok sa kanding is so right now in present times it is made of the eyelids of the goat and includes bristle or hair. pastoralized, di? And then, so the man thought that this would enhance the sexual performance. And of course, we have not mentioned that there is a study by Neil Garcia that says that because in pre-colonial times, the gays were also very powerful. Only the gays and the women can be spiritual leaders. The babaylan or asog are only the women and the gays. And the gays were they cross-dressed. So they dressed as women. And they were treated as women. And they could marry like women. Only that they cannot have children. So in pre-colonial times, like the hermaphrodites, so this was mentioned also by Dr. George Borinaga in one of our discussions, and this is from William Henry Scott also, that those men or the feminized men who have both the sexual organs of the man and the woman, the so-called hermaphrodites, were considered as the most powerful. They have the two organs. They are the most powerful healers, spiritual leaders, babaylanes. They have all the both organs of both sexes. So now, so if you have not nagkuan, so thank you. Mona Angelina Pete says, thank you, Pam Grass. Paras Matahari says, how did they handle unwanted pregnancy? Was abortion practiced? Yes, as said. So this discussion, Robbie says, this discussion has given me a deep perspective into the prevalent practice among a number of male Cebuano youth in impoverished areas under use of bulitas in its modern form. Use of hard plastics. Ano na, toxic? Wala na toxic. Toxic substances. So anyway, we would like to ask Dr. Rolly our last question, and then you can have already the reaction. What's the parenting, the practice of parenthood in pre-colonial times? Yes.
Okay, in pre-colonial Visayas, the women were essentially involved in childbearing, rearing, and parenting. Among the dato class, the mothers were assisted by female slaves, especially in taking care of the girls. As for the male children, they were oriented early on by their fathers for their future roles as warriors for their barangays and orgamuros. That's basically parenting during those times. Thank you.
So, dahil salamat, Dr. Rolly. So, we will now have, so also according to those other references, that they are actually like extended family, like the children from the previous marriages would already be part of this new family. So the modern family is practiced. The modern family right now, as said, was already practiced in ancient times. So where I actually said, bilog ang mundo. so we will now have, do we have questions from the online audience? So wala na. So we have no question from the online audience. So we will have the reaction from our so we will have first the reaction online. So we have our gender specialists from the Bisdak Pride Incorporated. So we would like to introduce to you to give his reaction to our discussion this afternoon, John Carl Bourbon. So online, please. Ang online sa... Yes.
Kaya. Hello, maayong hapon sa tanan. Am I audible?
Yes, pwede. Pakusog na to. Yes, John.
Hello. First of all, I would like to greet everyone a happy Valentine's Day, no? Pam Grass and sa tanan nga naa diri karon sa online o sa on-site nga kanang mga audience. And of course, the IOT and Relihiyon event of Pamgrass is very relevant kay we're celebrating Valentine's Day karon. Especially ang topic nga gidiscuss ni Dr. Levy o ni Dr. Rolando kay very bag-o gyud kaayo sa ako as LGBT member, no, kay ilaha jung dig deep ang culture ang history sa religion kanus siya nagsugod tanan-tanan ug ang pinaka-interesting para sa kuha ang topic about iyot. Samot na ang mga gadgets nga gipanggamit sa ato ang mga ancestors nga grabe nagtan-aw ko ni Ma'am Caridad do grabe murag naka-feel ko nga sakit ba kahadi siya or not or unsa ba ni gilok ba ni siya or unsa ba na siya. But I was expecting po nga naay mahisgot about LGBTQIA++ when it comes to sexual activities but wala kaayo siya nahisgotan do naghisgot si Ma'am Caridad about hermaphrodite nga pwede di ay powerful ay ang mga hermaphrodite during the pre-colonial pre-colonial season something ganun. And one thing na good nga murag na struck sa ako is about the katong gisulti ni Dr. Levy, no, though I respect the Roman Catholic, but I feel sad sa iyang giingon nga kanang it's a miracle kuno nga murag include sa Bible or sa Roman Catholic ang discussion about homosexuality, but I am still hoping for that miracle to happen. So thank you so much Pamgras for having me. Daghan kay kog nakatunan good kay bag-o kaayo sa kuha ang tanan nga mga discussion. And salute to Ma'am Caridad Givelondo, Pamgras, Dr. Levi Lanarya, Dr. Rolando Baranaga, and of course our Executive Director, Mr. Roxanne Omega Duron for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
So daghang salamat, John, for your insights and for your comments of our discussion this afternoon. So we hope that your questions would also be answered in the future. So daghang salamat. So now we would have our reactor who is with us on site, a student. So we will have the voice of the youth. We have the student from the University of the Philippines, Cebu, 𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗆.
Hello, hello, hello. So,
Can I audio? Yes.
hello. So I just want to say thank you sa Palmgrass, the Cebu Heritage for conducting this event, and thank you, Dr. Rolly and Dr. Levy for imparting your knowledge. And also, I am honored to be the reactor of this event, Sadke. Actually, I have a prior knowledge now with this topic, and I'm really like thankful kay ko kay nakarelate ko slight sa mga gipang discuss. So, if I were to describe the pre-colonial period, it's really like it's two words comes to mind. So it's free and powerful. Free kay like the culture, they have divorce systems and the physical intimacies. They're really like they have multiple partners and all, and powerful kay katong giingon nga like they have war fighting where war fighting societies, and like how the Visayans or Visayans were like conquerors of the sea. So it's kind of amazing how we have this kind of history. And then how our religions like were pagans, and then how women were regarded as powerful and leaders. Kay tungod women can bear children, and they have a like greater communication to the spiritual realm. And then yeah, how women are open to sexual tendencies. Kay like it's amazing kay na shock ko kay how they like women were so katong gipakita sa leaf nga buyo gali, and the penis ring which they insert themselves. So the pre-colonial period was really free and powerful, and then the Spaniards came and they introduced Christianity to us, and then more galig na flip over ang atong cultural and atong practices and traditions. So it was also like the baffled said ko slight, but it's good how Dr. Levy explained na nga like the Vatican has also changed their understanding of marriage, and now we have equality of sexes, and how the youth have kanang roles to kanang witness the sacredness of sex and marriage that is anchored on love. So, thank you very much.
Salamat to the very lovely Janamay Kadampog for the really wonderful insights about our history and our culture and the religion that we practice. So we have our Rabbi, we have the questions. So we have Rabbi saying thank you, Palmgrass, and so we have also 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 of Taguig City and Pateros, gihugma ti katanan. Tama po ba? Gihigugma kanamo. Nahigugma minini. So, lisod kay pag binisaya, gihigugma ko ikaw mana. If I love you, gihigugma ko ikaw. Nahigugma ko nimo. Or nahigugma ko ninyong tanan. So nahigugma na siya, dili na siya gihigugma. Nahigugma ko ninyong tanan. I love you all. Thank you very much, Ferdy, for trying to this from Taguig City and Pateros, trying to learn Bisaya. So he has also a question. Was the practice of wearing fertility belt an option ritual for pregnancy instead of the mentioned gadgets? Is fertility belt being practiced in the Visayas? So maybe we have Dr. Rolly for this.
European ata fertility belt,
Ah.
not Visayans.
Yes. So
European.
so that's from Dr. Rolly that it is it is a European practice having fertility belts. So so do we have a question from the on-site audience? So maybe we have while you are preparing your questions, we will give the first question also for the trivia quiz with exciting prizes. And this first question is only for the on-site audience. The second and the third is for everyone, on-site and online. So the first question is, the prize is our love tarts, 3 pieces. Kay I love you, man. So the love. What is the leaf that was used for courtship? So in ancient Bisaya. So you raise your hand. Who was the first one to raise? Ikaw? Sige, go to. Please introduce yourself and give your answer. Did you di malimtan ka? Amazing kay nga leaf. Sige.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Anne Gabriel Retuerto from the University of the Philippines, Cebu. And the answer to that question was the buyo leaf.
Congratulations. Is it Anne? So please take note of her name. So congratulations, you get 3 love tarts. So it's for like you message first when you want to avail of it. If wala katakaron. So the next question, so kuansa, before ta mag-trivia quiz again, we will have mo na ang prize. Ayaw sa ihatag ha ang question kay mangaya sa tag open forum. So do we have a question from our online audience are very good listeners because they know the answer. So we have another question which would be for the online and on-site. Everyone would be answering through the comment section. So Dodds Milan is saying thank you. So we have do we have a question from the on-site audience? Do you want to give a question? So who is the brave soul here to give to give his or her comment or reaction to the question? So dili mo ganahan mo question? Walay ganahan mo question dire. So next trivia quiz question na ta. Do you want to give your reaction to our discussion? Wala na? Excited na mo sa the romantic dinner karong gabi. We have actually a kasing event also at 7 p.m. So we will have the harana from at 𝗏𝗃𝗃 and also another harana at 8:30 with games at Hardin Dagami. So we have the second question. The prize is hilot sa tiil. Or giunahan ko. So, what sige lang. It's from the Alimanity Massage and you get also a healing prayer, an orasyon, a healing prayer with this. So, if you get the correct answer. So, it's from our Alima Native Massage and our modern day Babalanes will say a healing prayer for you, an orasyon for you. So, the question is, what is the council of the Catholic Church that aim for the spiritual renewal of the church? Comment section na ni. Do you have internet? Wala internet? So what is the council? What is it called? What number is it? so can you go to so it is, you answer this through the comment section of your Facebook, of the Facebook Live event. So we have correct answers so you get a free hilot sa tiil. So who was the first to answer? Is it Nafarin? Is it Nafarin, the first to answer sa inyo? So congratulations to Nafarin for the correct answer. Vatican II. Robbie is also correct with Second Vatican Council. Also 𝗿𝗵𝗃 is also correct with Vatican II. Yes. And how did they treat homosexuals then? So of course, the homosexuals were treated like women, the same as women. So because even the Spaniards could not identify which one was a woman or a man. So especially with the babaylanes, because they were, or the asog. So they dressed gaily and of course very colorful attire like women. So they could not identify which one was a man or a woman because all of them were considered women. they can marry like women. They can be leaders, like spiritual leaders like women. So the last question. So do we still have, wala game mo react on site? Wala mo, di mo ganan. Ikaw, Dre. Oh, Raul. Sige, Raul, you go and give your question. Or reaction. So we have our, introduce yourself, please.
Okay, my name is 𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗆 and I'm currently helping out
May we
my
show,
parents in
Raul?
the business sa part of the public market. I would like to react about the religion and sexuality. Since Vatican II is more on openness, I have to admit nga, bisag premarital sex mga private matter, it is socially unacceptable as what I have mentioned sa previous, what would I call that? The previous lecture series sa 𝗵grass actually, concerning the IOT and religion. Yes, going back sa katong perspective ni Sir Levy, negative gyud kaayo ang Spanish era nga restrictions on sexuality. Mo yung don't do this and don't do that. It's a sin to blah 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 blah. Kay 𝗏𝗶𝗃 ka mga katsila. Sus, ay na lang. Pastilan paita gyud. Yung mga ingon ko pastilan paita di mi kabuhat anida. Nya wasat kay bao nga ang nag-perpetrate sa mga kabuang gyud mga mga tao, mga praile ha. Not mga praile ba, mga Spanish friars of the religious orders. Not all of them, but some creepy old people, creepy people nga who fathered some children, and ang uban mga Pilipinos kaliwat man de sa mga praile ha, ibaw biya ka hinana nga pero mo lagi hypocritical jud kay tan-awon ba gyud ba nya luoy biya sa ng mga ang mga ancestors nato nga who were under 333 years of Spanish rule from 1565 kay actual naman siya magsugod ang colonization of the Philippines by Spain. Mona. But anyway, times have changed na gyud kay after all the pain that our ancestors went through. Nya ako, I was one of those nga gitudloan ba brainwash ba. Don't do this, don't do that. It's a sin to blah 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 blah, pero nakasaksi ko, naka-learn ko ba nga naiuban nga ang nag-live-in, kasal man na sa banig. Pero the sacredness of love and marriage can be open or will remain open. Okay. But anyway, although the debates would continue, let's just hope that the church will continue its openness due to the synodality of 2021 to 2023. Thank you very much.
Daghang salamat, Raul. So actually, before we give our third question, Dr. Levy would like to clarify something regarding the reaction also from Bisdak Pride gender specialist John.
Yeah, okay, Giancarlo. Are you still around?
John.
Well, I did not mean to dampen the spirit no, of the LGBTQ community, whom I have a very high regard and high respect, because I look at them just like any other human being on earth as human beings. So I do not discriminate. But when I use the phrase, it will take a miracle, it's like I expressed that in hyperbolic terms. But what I have in mind really is for the Catholic Church to officiate homosexual marriages. But Giancarlo, I'd like to assure you on the level of ongoing discussions, okay, you can be assured it's happening now, especially with a Pope now who was a whose pastoral or papal ministry was centered on the dignity of human beings. So I'm sure that many of you, if not all of you, know have heard that I would say a very safe, a statement of Pope Francis that if a homosexual couple are going to ask for a blessing from a priest, ordained priest, no, the ordained priest can do it. And then reactions coming from all sides. Now, even those who were not able to read the entire, the context, the entire text. But Pope Francis never meant that the Catholic Church now is open to, officially blessing homosexual unions within a formal ritual ceremony, just like the sacrament of marriage. But I am just trying to describe, what is going on now in the Catholic Church. No, without I don't mean to suggest certain things. No, I think I said that earlier that I cannot predict where the Catholic Church is going. I mean, who knows? Maybe 100 years, 200, 300 years from now.
Century
Things might
pa.
change.
Dr. Levy, so it means that in blessing the union, is it so it's different from the sacrament of marriage? It's just blessing, or
Yes.
is it blessing? So is it still the same? I have heard before that same-sex relationship is allowed, and it, it is allowed by the church as long as they do not have sex. Like, I have heard of that so many times, that the man, according to, I don't know if it's in our Christian living, I don't know, or I have heard something like that, that the church should allow same-sex relationship as long as the two of them will not have sex. Oh, yes. So friendship, like platonic relationship. It's not a sexual relationship. Is it? Is it what?
Because again,
Procreation.
yeah, it's still the traditional teaching of the church now, which is being articulated by the church's official magisterium, is still that sexual intercourse between married couples, and I would like to emphasize that married couples should be open to procreation.
Okay.
And so that's I think that's the that's the main reason why they cannot accept that homosexuals could be given that space of expressing themselves fully in their even physical genital expressions,
Okay.
because there is lacking there the procreative element.
Okay, so we have one more. So wala na yung question, no? Okay, actually time is running out also. So we actually have the closing words from our resource persons after this trivia quiz with exciting the last trivia question. So everyone, get ready with your fingers you will answer also through the comment section. So you will have as a prize our special cake of the month, which is the 𝗂𝗃𝗃 cake. So it's one whole cake, although it's shaped like a heart. So do we have the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 cake? Yes. It's 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃, the sweet love. So you get a 𝗏𝗏𝗃 cake. If you get the correct answer for this very easy question. We have been talking about this the whole 2 hours or 3 hours this afternoon. So give the name of the ring, not the 299 pesos ring. That was very important for ancient Visayas, for intimacies. Actually, I wrote intimacy because when we're scared of Facebook to to tag us with, of course they will say it's adult content. So of course this is adult content. So actually when we tried to have, actually I drafted something and I asked AI, what do you think of this? AI is more popish than Pope. The AI changed the word intercourse, like iyot. I put like the iyot was the word for intercourse in the dictionary of Father Mateo Sanchez. AI changed it to intimacy. So in the AI is also more popish than Pope than the Pope. So 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃, you get this. If you answer the question, give the name, Nana? Give the name of the ring that was very important for the ancient Visayan. So please write your answers at the comment section. So the first one to give the answer would get the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 cake. So kisay na una, si Paras Matahari. Kisay una, si Paras Matahari, no? So we have correct answers from Nafarin, Rabi, Casey, Joname, Leandro. Ano, sayop di, adili, the pin. Leandro, the pin is the tugbok. The ring is the sakra or sagra by the Spaniard, sakra by the natives. So, congratulations. So, Paras Matahari is saying ha ha ha. So, nganong Matahari man ni si Paras ha? And Dods is, so daghang salamat for your answers. And also, so our upcoming events, again, tonight we have Kasing-Kasing Valentine event. In February 28, you'll have Food for the Gods, the pagkaong halad sa mga diwata, the ritual. So we will have as our panelist, the Provincial Tourism the Provincial Tourism Officer of Iloilo. Of course, we know that Iloilo has been awarded as with on gastronomy by UNESCO. And we will also have here from Cebu, Chef Richard Howe. He is also from the University of San Jose Recoletos, and they have been studying, Chef Richard has been studying some towns that still have food rituals until today. So on February 28 also is Lamoy sa tuig, ikawalong tuig sa Kapihan ni Lumaya. And on March 1, with our partners, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, we hope to have conversations with a historian on early Spanish cultures from the University of Manchester, Dr. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃. I can't pronounce it properly. So we will discuss the Visayan section of the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Codex. He will be here on site. So now we will have the closing word. So we will also have on middle of March, 𝗪𝗲, the demonization of women and LGBT from pre-colonial to modern times. Because 𝗪𝗲 was actually a Visayan goddess. And when the Spaniards came, they translated devil. We may not have devil in our vocabulary. And their word now for the devil is 𝗪𝗲. And 𝗪𝗲 was a Visayan goddess. So the translation now in Visaya for devil is now 𝗪𝗲, which was a Visayan goddess. So there is demonization. So March is the Women's Month. So we will have that discussion so we will have that discussion in the middle of March. So April 3 would be actually April 3 in 1898 was Palm Sunday. So it was the Lenten season was very important for the Cebuanos. April 3 was the Battle of Tres de Abril. It was a Palm Sunday in 1898. Leon Quilac, our hero in Cebu, in the Visayas, was killed on a Good Friday, was betrayed and killed by fellow Cebu by Cebuanos on on April 8th, which was a Good Friday. And of course, we won the revolution against Spain on Christmas Eve, December 24. So grabe ang history sa Cebu, no? So we will have this right now the closing statements first from Dr. Levy, our theologian. So we will have Dr. Levy.
First of all, I'd like to thank, of course, Ma'am Kari,
Agripina. Caridad Agripina.
Ma'am Caridad.
Agripina.
Ma'am Agripina, no, of the 𝗹𝗪 Cebu Heritage Hotel, for giving me the opportunity, to be able to bring to light certain things that have something to do with how the teachings of the Catholic Church, especially in the area of love, sex, and marriage, have evolved up until the post-Vatican II times. And of course, I'd like also to thank those who patiently listened, not only to me, but to us here. And thank you too for those reactors who gave rather encouraging reactions to our talks. Lastly, I'd like to end my ending with a quote from Pope Francis himself. Also, he said, "The Church has to change in favor of human dignity." The Church has to change in favor of human dignity. And for this, he was heavily criticized by the traditionalists in the Catholic Church. Let us all support Pope Francis, because we believe he is heaven sent at this very important juncture of the history of the Catholic Church. No Pope has dared to open issues that are very sensitive, delicate, like Pope Francis, like homosexuality, possibility of women being ordained as deacons. Yes, there's also the issues on marriage, divorce families. So thanks be to God. He has been pushing for the synodal church that was mentioned by Ruil. So let's all support this endeavor of Pope Francis, and let's also pray, because he's getting older and older, that somebody who will replace him, more or less, shares the same pastoral perspective and orientation. Thank you.
Dahil salamat, Dr. Levy, and we're so happy that you are here with us to share with us the updates and the teachings of the church, because we really had a very hard time looking for someone who would speak about the teachings of the Catholic Church. And I also thank Bishop Gerardo Almenasa of the Diocese of San Carlos for really helping me to invite Dr. Levy Lanaria to be our resource person this afternoon. So we have learned so many things also about the Catholic Church. So now we have we will also give the floor. We would like to ask for the closing words from our Visayas historian, former UP professor, Dr. Rolly Burinaga.
Maayong gabi ka natong tanan. It's a pleasure for me to be here face to face for the first time after so many forums where I don't need to speak online. Okay, so our pre-colonial Visayan society, they were warriors, and they were expecting wars at any moment, but it actually affected their psychological state. So much so that during those times, in fact, the relation of men and women, the problem of men at that time was in fact erection and penetration. So that's why they had to engage in instrument-assisted sex initiated by women. Parang kuan sila, sikat kaya sila, because they in fact called themselves, the war dance is called salabay. They in fact called themselves men of war. Salaba is actually Portuguese man of war, yung pinakalaka yung nga jellyfish. But they were not so good in the bedroom because of their psychological state. So that's why they had to, at least the Babaylan community had to devise means so that procreation can in fact be effected by people who were intimidated of having erection and to penetrate women. So there was a psychological context why pre-colonial Filipinos had to engage in instrument-assisted sex. I know it's a very sensitive topic and it's parang lisod kayo, but it had to be discussed in the open. And I hope we had learned a lot during this session. Thank you very much.
Daghang salamat, Dr. Rolly. So daghang salamat for sharing with us your knowledge about our history. So of course, we admire also the men whose primary concern is the pleasure of the woman. So they would go to, like, it's painful. There should be surgery, and because they would go through such sacrifices, and it was pleasurable for them to go through such surgery and all because they want the woman to be pleasured, and maybe they like being called warships and 𝗂𝗃𝗃. So audience, thank you to our reactors with the very beautiful and wonderful insights, and also thank you to our partners, the Trust the Abril Foundation Incorporated, Bisdak Pride Incorporated, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, Diyandi Heritage Center, and SOAN2020. So we would like to show you, to end, we have this poem that is, it is a poem, a sensual poem dedicated to our gallery, because in one of the, during the pandemic, our way to have an exhibit is through online. So we made a poem, I made a poem to describe the gallery, and we made it like a sensual, trying to be a sensual poem, read by a drama performer in DYHP, Ingrid Bertodaso, and it was acted also by some of our partners at 𝗏𝗏grass and the youth at 𝗏𝗏grass. So this is Ayaw Kalain Kung Sultian Tika.
Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga para nako, gahi kaayo ka, sama ka bagsik o kagahi sa Galeriya Independensya. Murag, hardwood man tingali ka, nga sa imong ka-hard, wa man gyud kunin mo tagda. Maong ang sarok sa asawa ni Humabon, buot na nakong sulupon. Tiaw mo ni atong 1521, si Juana di ay ang pinakagwapa. Sigun kini sa pananaw sa langyaw nga si Pigafetta. Bisang nataliwadan pa siya taples nga mga dalaga. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga galaom kung muhumok pud unta ka. Aba naglibog ko kung unsaon pagpasoft sa hard ni mong heart. Ako kabang daron, ihumol sa tunaan, isud sa lusong og lubkon sa alo, ialig-ig sa nigo, dayon galingon kuyog sa mais, lungagon sa kun, latan pag-ayo. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga nagduda kong dili lang gahi, apan butasab ka. Imo ra yung gisnabang akong feelings, nga daw nag-awas-awas nga tubig sa banga. Nagpasad sama sa bulawan ug uban pa. Nga gibarter kani atong panahon ni Humabon, kuyog ang puno sa tato nga mga subuanon. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga gahi buta, ug bungol pagyud ka. Kay wa gyud nimo mapaminaw nga sa matag magtagbo ta, kining dughan ko daw tambol o akong magbuto-buto. Mubagting sama sa tililing sa brass master sa South Cotabato. Mukas ka sama sa kwerda sa higalo nga gikitiw-kitiw sa antik nga mga tudlo. Mutyabaw sama sa kubing nga gitayhok, gihagkan sa ngapil nga nagkibot-kibot. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka. Di lang kagahi, buta o bungol, apan baga pagyud ka. Kaysa dihang wadama nga ang akong kamot, imong dahikapan, murag din malagyapon ka. Apan dinhin ako, ang imong accidental touch, murag miukiok sa akong espiritu, daw gihablon nga tinalak sa Lake Cebu. O pisyabit sa isla sa Sulu, murabag, imo kong nasyat sa taro. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga di lang kagahi, buta, bungol, baga. Duda ko, sama sa simod sa iring, bugnaw kaayo ka. Sa imong kabugnaw, cool kaayo ka kusniton. Tungod wara gyud para nimo. Gabisad na ako, gapa sweet-sweet yung ka sa imong amiga. Intawon kahapdos sa akong dugan. Murag dami sa eskrimador gibunal-bunalan. Daw gitusok-tusok sa pangkaw nila pulapo. Gitigba sa hait na pinuti sa katipunero. Gipikas-pikas sa kres ni Leon kilat o sa mga moro. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga taliwa sa imong pagkagahi, kabaga, ka-cold. How I wish nga kung dadun ti ka sa atubangan sa mga bayaning revolusyonaryo, ang tanan mong mga apan kay ilupad kuyog sa mga apan-apan. Sama sa mga hero, hunk, ug syofo masad ka, maong sayang kung dili nimo maamguhan. It's your loss. Kung ang lami kung alinutuan, dili nimo matilawan.
Bisagin sa nga babae, di ka ilisan kaya nga akong gugma, solid pa sa katipunan.
Sorry kaayo kung gisultihan ti ka. Unsa ka imo karon na sulayan, nagamiton imong ka-bright, kautukan. Abrihon imong mata, dunggan ug dugan. Aron imo kong makuyugan. Subayon ta ang dalan padulong sa kagawasan. Hangtod nga ang imong kasing-kasing, musabay pagtitik ning akong dugan. Dayon, mag-uban ta og hakop sa bulawanong ani. Manglupad uban sa panon sa mga langgam. Likayan, biyaan, ang kagahi ug kapugnaw. Gakson ang kahumok sa hangin. Hakan ang kainit sa adlaw.